Magandang araw po sa lahat ng ating mga secondary teachers for our cluster 2. Nandyan po ang ating mga secondary teachers ng CAR, Region 1, Region 2, and Region 3. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Naway, nandyan po kayo sa inyong mga komportabling bahay. Pwede na po kayo magsiupuan sa inyong komportableng posisyon. Ayan. Good morning. Okay? At this time, atin pong formal na bubuksan ang ating programa sa araw na ito at ating papakinggan ang ating mga butihing undersecretaries at directors. Atin pong tinatawagan si Undersecretary Jesus Lorenzo Mateo, the Undersecretary for Planning and BHROD. Yusek Mateo.
Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. First off, I would like to congratulate and extend my appreciation to Director Ronico from the Department DepEd's Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Service, to Director Jan from the National Educators Academy of the Philippines, Director Abraham from the Information and Communication Technology Service, and the Psychological Association of the Philippines for coming together and providing our field personnel with resource materials such as manuals, modules, and guidance notes. I believe that this training will better equip them with essential knowledge and skills in providing psychological first aid, not only to our learners but also to our teachers. Allow me also to acknowledge the participants of this activity and thank you for your dedicated time. Alam nyo, yung COVID situation, naka-apekto sa buong bansa, no? Mas lalo na sa ating educational system. And this has posed diverse and numerous challenges to stay true to DepEd's mandate of ensuring quality, accessible, relevant, liberating basic education. It has affected all educational stakeholders from the learners, teachers, administrators, and to our staff, the family, the community, and the others. With these challenges, yung inyong kagawan po ay bumuo ng tinatawag nating Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan. Ito po ay isang package of educational interventions that will ensure that education will continue. I believe that this online training on the provision of psychological first aid to our learners shall help capacitate our teachers, heads, and support staff in assisting the learners in the immediate aftermath of this pandemic and be able to functionally adapt and cope with the situation. I believe that it will support immensely the implementation of the learning continuity plan in terms of learner support. This will better serve our learners, and I believe that DepEd personnel shall ensure that PFA, or the psychological interventions, will greatly help not only the learners but also the teachers. As we empower ourselves in this training, let us not also forget when we do our respective psychological first aid, let us empower them individually to take an active role in their recovery by acknowledging their coping efforts and strengths and supporting adaptive coping in a compassionate manner. As a community, the momentous tasks on our shoulders is not to let our frontliners fight alone. Para tayong mga sundalo that are about to face a battle, we must provide them with the appropriate gears, train them, and support them in ways to win the battle. Battle for education to continue despite the pandemic. Kami po sa Central Office are one with you in every step of the way. Let us not all lose sight of our vision. This pandemic is here to stay, but I strongly and passionately believe that the strength and unity as a department that we have shown throughout the years will be our main weapon as we ensure that learning continues. Again, congratulations to the organizers and thank you and have a fruitful work and pleasant time during this conversation. God bless all of us.
Thank you very much, Yusek Mateo. Indeed, our efforts as part of the learning continuity plan of Department of Education is this mental health and psychosocial support services, and through this training, mas may empower po natin ng ating mga teachers pagdating sa pasukan, sa darating na pasukan. So, at this time, let us end instruction under Secretary Justado Antonio. Yusek?
I commend the Office of Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Service for making sure that appropriate training opportunities are provided our fellow teachers regarding our preparations for school year 2020-2021. As pointed out by Secretary Liling, it is really very important for our fellow teachers and fellow leaders for learning to be capacitated so that they can carry out the tasks expected of them. A very critical aspect of our preparations is making sure that everybody knows how to provide psychosocial first aid. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Ayan, medyo nagkaroon lang po tayo ng technical difficulty, but inaayos na po siya ng ating team. So, indeed, today we will be having our training for psychological first aid in the context naman po ng ating mga secondary learners. It is very much important for us to know the techniques and the skills that we must have in terms of providing psychological first aid and psychosocial support services for our secondary learners. It is the activities that and styles that and strategies that you will be receiving for today is definitely crafted by professionals. Later, makikilala nyo po ang ating mga resource persons. Okay? So, at this moment, let us listen to at this moment, let us listen to the message of the Director of the Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Service, Director Ronilda Co. Director? Okay. At the moment, let us listen, let us consider that there are things talaga na nangyayari kapag live. So, we must, tingnan po muna natin ang ating, ayusin po natin ang ating pagkakaupo. Ito bang platform po namin importante po na komportable ko yung nauupuan. Importante din na kinukonsider nyo po na meron po tayong mga pre-test and post-test for this morning. So, ayusin po natin ang ating internet connections and be ready po sa mga gagawin po nating mga pre-test and post-test. Kung meron po kayong additional device, pwede po natin yung asikasuhin na po natin na i-ready because some of our lectures will be needing you to answer some also a tool for us to at least have a grasp on the knowledge that you have earned upon understanding or listening to the topics that was discussed by our speakers. So, importante po na sagutan po natin maigi ang mga pre-test and post-test and mga actual assessments in between lectures. It is very much important. Importante din na ayusin po natin ang ating mga connections. Na-mention ko nga din po ito ngayon. At nagpapasalamat din po kami sa NAYAP and ICTS na tinutulungan po tayo for this session po for the morning. Okay? At the moment, meron po tayong mga reminders tapos ibigay po natin yung objectives po ng ating session or activity for this morning. Ayan. Ipa-flash po sa inyong screens. Okay? For questions addressed to the speaker, kindly share them by commenting below using this format. So, yung pangalan po ninyo, name of regional office, kung kayo po ay taga saan na region, school, saan pong eskwelahan, tapos question nyo po. Para at least ma-address po namin properly po yung mga concern po ninyo or yung mga question nyo through live or offline. Okay? So, ayan po, nakapost din po yung example na format. Okay? For number 2, ensure that you have answered the pre-test at this link. Ayan. Bibigyan po namin kayo ng opportunity to fill up this particular fill up the answers for this link. Importante, medyo madali lang po yung pag-access. I-type nyo lang po itong particular na link na ito sa inyong mga browsers, sa cellphone, sa laptop. Tapos magpo-proceed na po kayo doon sa mga sasagutan ninyo. Very quick lang naman po ito. Very madali lang din. Para lang din mag-grasp po namin yung prior understanding nyo po sa psychological first aid provision and mental health and psychosocial support services for us to gauge your understanding of the CIS program and the training manual. Okay? So, next, i-remind po namin ang mga participants na ito po ang ating objectives for this activity. Number 1, learn and deepen basic facilitation and process observation skills. It is important po kasi as a PFA provider or a PFA advocate that we know the process of facilitation and observation because we will be conducting activities and we will be observing our learners kung sila ba ay may mga particular na feelings na need nating i-validate or i-acknowledge. Okay? So number health and psychosocial support services, ano ang generic, ano yung mga particular na levels ng mental health and psychosocial support services at saan pumapasok ang psychological first aid. Kailangan din na maging well-versed tayo sa 4 na module ng psychological first aid ng CIS manual. So meron po mamaya na refresher kung ano yung 4 modules na pinaka-importante in conducting psychological first aid, and at the same time, ipapresent din po sa inyo yung revised and revamped na 4 modules. So, item number 3, be equipped on how to conduct online psychological first aid for learners and psychological first aid through self-guided modules. Importanteng malaman po ninyo kung paano nga ba talaga ang pag-conduct ng psychological first aid kahit remote tayo at distant ang method or delivery natin. Meron din tayong self-guided modules. Ituturo din po sa inyo kung paano po yung mga skills or mga skill sets or strategies kung paano po natin mas maibibigay po yung mas tama at mas maliwanag na mai-provide ang psychosocial support services sa ating mga learners. This is contextualized po for secondary learners. So I am hoping po that the participants mo dito are secondary teachers because we also have a separate webinar and session for our elementary teachers, okay? So yesterday natapos na yung cluster 1, nandun yung mga school heads and mga division and regional office personnel, sila po yung nakapacitate natin for cluster 1. And today, we are lucky to have the participants from CAR, Region 1, Region 2, and Region 3. We are all assuming that you are all secondary teachers of these respective regions. And I hope din po you also have read the CIS manual or yung mga nanonood po na nakapag-train na po ng psychological first aid or naging participant na po ng psychological first aid trainings. I hope na review niyo po or nakita din niyo po before or nabasa niyo po, nagkaroon po kayo ng thorough reading in terms of our CIS manual. Okay? Importante din po for this morning na makinig po tayo ng mabuti sa mga lectures and presentations po ng ating mga resource persons because each resource persons are pretty much ano to, equip with the knowledge and skills na pwede po nilang i-share po sa inyo. Okay? So, at this time, importante pong makita po natin na malaman natin or makilala po natin ang ating mga resource persons. Okay? Importante po na as we proceed to the session, matandaan din po natin ang kanilang mga background. So right now, we will proceed to the introduction of the resource persons. Okay. So first one is Dr. Pia Ana Perfecto Ramos. Dr. Pia Ana Perfecto Ramos has been rendering consultancy services for the DepEd since the year 2015. She, together with Dr. Eduardo Caliner and Dr. Gina Hechanova and Ms. Katrina Ana Bersamin, developed the CIS manual that the DepEd continues to use up until today for the psychological support services as a part-time lecturer in the same year while functioning as the head directress of her own preschool and learning center. She was the very first head of the Mental Health and Psychosocial Support Division of the Psychological Association of the Philippines and created after Typhoon Haiyan. She continues to function as an education consultant, child and family specialist, and project manager for various government, non-government, international organizations. Her family unit moved to Prague, Czech Republic in the year 2017, where she served as an English teacher to Czech students as well as primary school teacher to the international students. There's over 27 years of experience in the fields of education, training, and research. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Pia Ana Perfecto Ramos. Our next speaker is our research person, holds a doctorate in clinical psychology from the University of Santo Tomas, cum laude. Currently, he is the school psychologist of Ateneo de Manila University Senior High School and has been the guidance counselor of the Ateneo de Manila High School for 28 years. He teaches part-time at the Graduate School of UST, Miriam College, and Ateneo College of Education, handling subjects like advanced counseling, psychotherapy, and mental health and psychosocial support. He holds a certificate to practice cognitive behavioral therapy obtained from Beck's Institute in Pennsylvania, USA, and counseling supervision under Dr. Philip Armstrong of Australian Counseling Association. Likewise, he is currently a new member of the Board of Directors of the Psychological Association of the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Dr. Ed Caliner. Our last speaker is Ms. Katrina Ana Bersamin. She is one of the authors of the CIS Manual and has co-facilitated the regional and national trainings in 2015. She graduated from Ateneo de Manila University with a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in industrial organization psychology. She is a currently partner strategist of Fire Springs Consulting Incorporated and the HR director of De La Salle Santiago Sabel School. She has also done training for the Development Academy of the Philippines, Ateneo Center for Organizational Research and Development, and Human Capital Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Katrina Ana Bersamin. Okay? I think there you have it. These are the three speakers that we will be having for this morning. And I hope that we will be equipped with the knowledge and skills that we need to have for this moment. At this moment, we will be turning the time to Miss Katie for the instruction for our pre-test.
Yes, good morning po sa inyong lahat. All right. So before we begin, we would like to remind all of you to answer the pre-test. Na-send na po ahead yung link via Facebook. But for those who haven't answered it yet, please proceed to the link on your screens there. And we will give you about 10 minutes to complete it. All right. So just proceed to the link on your screens. It's very important that you answer the pretest so that we more or less know what your current knowledge is regarding the CEAS manual and providing psychosocial support. So, 10 minutes? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, there you have it. Thank you for answering the pre-test na nandyan po sa inyong mga screen. At this moment, before we proceed to the formal discussion flow, let us listen to the message of our director from the Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Service, Director Runilda Co. Director Ronnie?
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat, no? Paumanhin dahil inaasikaso namin yung memo sa management of cases natin dito sa central office. Siguro like you do sa ating mga teachers, sa mga schools, mga divisions and regions, no? May mga ano na din kasi tayo, no? May mga sariling cases na din within the central office. But good morning, fellow teachers and of DepEd. We all know that this is a very challenging times dahil alam natin na lahat ay apektado nitong COVID. And we are not only challenged, but we have realized how important our mental health is, no? Equally important to our physical health. And the stresses, the anxiety, the fears, the worries are real. In fact, I was told just last night, no, that a parang study was done with the Public Affairs Service nila Director June Godoy. And the results of the study actually there were two, no, isang quanti at isang qualitative studies, no, that were done. The results actually point out that more than our parents and even our learners, the central issues of teachers and administrators in DepEd actually center on the mental health. Kaya sabi ni Director June sa akin kapon, Ma'am, you're right. Sabi niya, tinatamaan ng mental health concerns ay actually ang ating mga teachers and administrators. And he gave me that study last night. And I went over it, and true enough, no, ang galing din ng study, no, it was actually, I think, undertaken with UNICEF. And so, I would like to underscore the need, no, really for us to support one another. Kaya ito pong ginagawa natin, no, itong, well, now this is for the learners, but last week was for you. And I hope that you actually came on board last week doon sa provision of MHPSS para po sa inyo, para sa paghahanda dito sa opening of classes on August 24, no? Para naman mabigyan din ninyo ng karampatang atensyon ang ating mga estudyante. But I would like to emphasize the need also for you because I understand, alam nyo, May pa lang naglunsad na po kami ng wellness check na for our personnel, kasama po kayo doon every Friday, no, 9 a.m. Meron po tayong series, no, at ongoing pa rin siya. Bakit? Kasi po nakita ko na noon pa yung posible nga na mental health impact nito. Why? Kasi alam nyo, sa dami ng concerns, the complication of it, no, it is too complex and it is too uncertain, no, na lahat moving, no, and then kayo yung nasa ground talaga, no, that recognition that you will actually have that hands-on, no, solving of the problem as you are on the ground, no, will actually cause. Now I realized at that point in time, no, by April, no, it will cause really mental health concerns, and that's why we launched yung wellness check program. And even now, as we go on, and ito kasi focus na pagbibigay para naman sa mga estudyante. But I hope you came on board nga po last week then, because the whole week last week was for you. And realizing that our students as well do need this, no? Kasi sila din pati dun sa uncertainty. Hindi sila marami pa po, mas marami sa percentage ng both studies, no? Mas marami sa percentage ng quantitative study ang nasa adjusting period po, no? Very small pa lang ang naka-adjust talaga dito sa tinatawag nating new normal. Noong 2015, we had actually in the aftermath of Yolanda, no? That was 2013. But 2015, given the experience of Yolanda, nagsagawa na po ng tinatawag na yung nabanggit na no na ito yung ano nyo no CIS manual no na para sa secondary teachers to deliver to secondary learners, no? Na kapag train tayo ng more than 10,000 actually na employees na mula regions, divisions, even school level, no? Mga DRM coordinators, school health division nurses, even our guidance counselors, and even teachers. Kasi taon-taon may pondo tayong binababa for that, no? So, pero dahil ito ay bago, no? Na gumawa tayo at saka remote kasi siya, hindi siya yung face-to-face yung delivery, ano? So gumawa tayo sa tulong ng ating very reliable partner na siya din gumawa ng CIS manual together with UNESCO, Jakarta, and Japan government, no? Itong supplemental modules natin na tinatawag to the CIS manual. At saka yung guidance notes na rin, paano siya gamitin online kasi ano, at saka may self-guided module, so remote, no, dalawa pong klase, pang online at pang yung self-guided na modules. So ito po ngayon yung ginagawan ng training sa kasalukuyan. Ito po yung dadaanan nyo ngayong araw na ito, no, ngayong umagang ito. Yung buong supplemental modules and how to use them remote, no, via remote delivery. I hope that this will help every one of us, no, teachers, no, and sana po ay mag-onboard pa rin kayo doon sa every Friday na wellness check natin, no. Medyo talagang concern ako doon sa kalagayan ninyo, no, sa ground, no, because this will be for quite some time. Okay? Malayo-layo pa ng konti ang vaccine, no? Lahat ay puro pa lang kumbaga testing, experimental period ng mga possible na vaccines, no, sa iba't ibang bansa. So I hope that this session will be of help to you on how to carry it for the students. And if you have questions, feel free. Napaka ano po ng ating mga resource persons. Yesterday, madaming questions po. Yesterday were your school heads as well as yung mga non-teaching personnel ng iba't ibang governance levels natin. So ngayon naman, magmula ngayon, kayong unang-unang batch until the end of this week and next week ay mga ano naman po, mga teachers. So teachers, magandang umaga po sa inyo. Maraming salamat at kayo ay nandito at kayo ay porsigido pa rin. No? Mataas ang awareness doon sa studies, awareness nyo sa issues. Even the skills are actually very high. The commitment is there. Ang ano lang talaga ay very challenging yung situation. Kaya ito kaya kahit na ganoon ay napaka-central ng mental health na problem na inilabas po ng mga na-interviews doon sa ating study. So a pleasant morning to all. I hope this is helping all of you. We always say mahalaga ka, kapatid, kaya alagaan mo ang iyong sarili. At the same time, I hope that you get to have the necessary tools to equip yourselves as well to help our students. So, isang mapayapang umaga sa inyong lahat, mga kapatid. Maki?
Thank you very much, Director Ronnie. At this time, we almost have 15,000 viewers. Ayan. Thank you very much po sa ating mga participants from CAR, Region 1, Region 2, and Region 3. At this time, we will turn over the time to our resource person, Dr. Pia, for the introduction of mental health and psychosocial support services and psychological first aid. Dr. Pia?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Magandang umaga po from Prague, Czech Republic. Ako po ay nandito. Gabi pa po dito. Well, umaga na, no? 3 in the morning. Pero happy po ako to be with everyone. So today po, we will start our talk, okay, our training with a few things po about mental health and psychosocial services and just a few information rin about your own mental health, tsaka po yung mental health ng students or learners natin. So mag-share po ako ng screen. Yung iba pong slides, maririnig nyo, may recorded video na ako doon, no? May recordings. Pero yung iba pong slides, ila-live ko na lang. Okay? So, begin na po tayo. Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Pia Ana Perfecto Ramos from the Psychological Association of the Philippines. I am currently based here in Prague, Czech Republic, and I function as a child and family specialist. I feel very, very honored to be with you here today, delivering this talk on mental health and the pandemic. You are one of my most favorite groups back in the day when I was still in the Philippines. I have always enjoyed addressing teachers. I am a teacher myself. I have been teaching for the past 27 years. And to me, it is such a notable profession. Salamat. Maraming salamat sa pag-alaga sa mga batang Filipino. Okay? So today, we are going to talk about mental health and the pandemic. Own, I will elaborate in the next slide. So ano nga ba yung mental health, no? Sabi dun sa previous slide, meron siyang 7 components. The first component is social. Social skills. Ibig sabihin, are you able to seek help from loved ones and friends? Kaya mo bang mag-network kapag kailangan? Are you able to find support in people and engage them in relevant and interesting conversation? Next po na component, cognitive. Hindi po ibig sabihin yan kung matalino kayo or hindi. Hindi po yun, ha. Ang ibig sabihin po ng cognitive, nasa-separate nyo ba ang rational na thoughts sa irrational na thoughts? Kaya nyo bang baguhin yung naiisip nyo kung masyadong negatibo yung naiisip nyo? Kaya nyo ba siyang gawing neutral man lang or positibong thought? Next component po, emotional. Are you aware of your own feelings? Kaya mo bang i-express yung mga feelings mo appropriately? Alam mo ba na okay lang na, na hindi maging okay? Kaya mo bang i-manage yung emotions mo? Next component, empathy. Napaka-importante po. Empathy means kaya mong ilagay yung sarili mo dun sa pakiramdam ng ibang tao. Putting yourself in other people's shoes. Okay? Ibig sabihin, nakikita mo ba yung sitwasyon in a way that the other person sees it? Kaya mo bang tignan ang isang sitwasyon in the perspective of others? Are you able to feel what other people are feeling? Another component of mental health is flexibility. Kaya mo bang i-adjust yung behavior mo? Lalo na kapag you're in a situation that's medyo difficult. Okay? Do you have a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset? Are you able to accept your own mistakes and learn from them? Next po, adversity. Are you able to pick yourself up and try again? Kapag po nasa difficult situation tayo, gaya po ngayon, may pandemic. Sabi nga ni Director Ronilda ko, it's really affecting our mental health. But are you able to pick yourself up and tell yourself, hindi, kaya ko to. Adversity po yon. And the last component, harmony of both body and mind. Being at peace with your decisions. Severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus 2, is an infectious disease that was first identified in the province of Hubei, China, in December 2019. The World Health Organization declared the disease as a pandemic on March 11, 2020, almost 3 months after, as the virus spread across 110 countries. To date, it has infected more than 11.5 million people worldwide, has caused more than 500,000 deaths. Due to its infectious nature, governments all over the world were forced to implement strict quarantine and lockdown measures to curb the spread of the disease. Offices imposed work from home orders. All shops and restaurants were recommended to shut down, and schools were called off. As the pandemic continues to affect the lives of people all over the world, various sectors of government, including your sector, have chosen to adopt other ways and means to continue to provide their services to the people. These new normal practices shall continue to evolve as specialists begin to understand more aspects of the virus itself. Now, beyond the fear of actually contracting the disease, does the pandemic have any effect on our mental health as teachers? We may be teachers, but we may also be a wife, a mother, a sister. Okay? We have all these other roles that we play in life. Does the disease, experiencing this pandemic have an effect on our mental health? How about on the mental health of our own students? The answer to these two questions, as you very well know, is a resounding yes. How does the pandemic affect our mental health? Madalas po nag-overthink tayo. Ang dami nating pinag-iisipan. Nagiging sobrang worried tayo, nag-aalala tayo, to the point na hindi po tayo nakakatulog. Okay? Nagkakaroon rin tayo ng negative thoughts madalas dahil po sa sitwasyon na natin ngayon. Minsan po nai-insecure tayo, nagiging irritable towards our family members, towards our own children. Okay? Nako-confuse. Sometimes we feel lonely because of course we miss our friends. We get depressed. And like I said earlier, sometimes we are not able to sleep well. Nagkakaroon po tayo ng insomnia. Ngayon, kahit naman po may mga behaviors and feelings tayo about the pandemic and these are maybe maladaptive and negative na feelings, alalahanin po natin na lahat yon ay normal and valid. Pero meron po tayong innate ability towards resilience. Kaya nyo po na mag-recover. Okay? You can try to help yourself from the state of helplessness and then go back to a state of being busy. Now that we are all experiencing the pandemic, a lot of groups are being called to provide some sort of psychosocial support service to various groups in society. What type of services can we provide to other Filipinos? The first type would be what you call basic services and security. This means providing for basic needs, food, shelter, water, medicines, alcohol, hand sanitizer. These are usually given to the general population affected by the crisis. The next type of support is what you call community and family support. These are given to people with mild psychological distress. Please note that even if they are mild forms of distress, these are but natural reactions to a pandemic or to any other type of crisis event. What type of family and community support can you give? They can be activities, sports activities, maybe singing activities, prayer. All those are forms of community and family supports. Then there's what you call focused and non specialized support. It's usually given to those with mild and moderate stress levels. It's usually given by those who are trained to do these types of supports. They're given to individuals, families, or they can also be given as a group. You will later learn about how you can use psychological first aid or PFA during the first week of classes and provide some sort of focused and non specialized support to your students. And the last and highest tier is what you call specialized services, usually given to those who have severe psychological disorders. This is usually given only by a professional, like a psychologist or a psychiatrist or some other doctor who can provide these services because they are very skilled with it. Dahil rin sa sinabi ni Director Ronnie ko, no, na apektadong-apektado tayong mga teachers dahil dito sa sitwasyon na to, naisip ko magdagdag ng slide about ano ba yung pwede niyong gawin to take care of your own mental health. So 5 tips po, 5 lang. First one, acknowledge what you are feeling. Ibig sabihin po, tanggapin niyo kung ano yung nararamdaman niyo, whether negative or positive, and then go to step 2. Practice mindfulness and breathing exercises, especially if what you're feeling is something negative or it's affecting your entire being already. Okay? Do some deep breaths, try to relax. Okay? Think of something that will bring you happiness. It will help you po care for your mental health. Number 3, catch and modify maladaptive coping behaviors. Ano ang ibig sabihin nun? Okay? Try to catch yourself if you are drinking too much, smoking too much, or isang maladaptive coping behavior na laging ginagawa ng mga Pilipino, watching too much news. Yung TV po natin or yung cellphone po natin, lagi yatang naka-on sa news. Alam niyo po, when we keep watching the news, for a lengthy period of time, mahabang panahon, nakaka-stress at nakakadagdag po yan sa anxieties natin. Okay? So, kailangan po i-limit nyo yung time na nanonood kayo ng mga news. Korean telenovela na lang kaya panoorin nyo. Mas magiging masaya pa kayo. Number 4, engage in activities that you love doing. I just said, no? Korean telenovelas, or maybe you like po to cook or gusto nyo magbenta ng mga niluluto nyo. Okay po yun. Basta enjoy kayo sa ginagawa nyo, that will definitely contribute to better mental health. And last, plan for future activities. Kahit po hindi tayo makalabas ng bahay ngayon, isipin nyo na lang, ano yung gagawin nyo kapag dumating tayo sa panahon na pwede na ulit lumabas? Sino yung pwede nyong bisitahin? Ano yung gusto nyong gawin na matagal nyo na hindi nagagawa? Ano yung gusto nyong kainin? Mga ganong bagay po. Some examples no, ng healthy or adaptive coping behaviors. Pagdarasal, cooking and baking, setting up an online business para po maging mas busy pa tayo. Karamihan po sa atin, nagtatanim na ng mga gulay, okay? Nag-aalaga ng mga bulaklak, okay? Spending time with children, okay? Other adaptive or healthy coping behaviors, nagsusulat, nagbabasa, learning a new skill online. Okay, alam ko po karamihan sa inyo nag-attend na ng session on Moodle, nag-attend na ng session on how to teach when you have to teach online. Yan po, ang daming activities na ino-offer po ng DepEd. Watching plays at shows, working productively from home, and nag-attend po ng tinatawag natin ng mga online parties with our friends and mga family members na wala po sa bahay natin, no? Let's move on. Okay. How about our learners? Does the pandemic affect the mental health of our learners? Of course, definitely. According to a national survey of adolescents in the US aged 13 to 18 last May 2020, 7 out of 10 of them said they were struggling with their mental health in some way. 45% said they were experiencing excessive stress, and 55% said they were experiencing anxiety. 43% said they were struggling with depression. All right? 65% said the coronavirus has increased their feelings of loneliness. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the percentages would be somewhat similar for our teenagers or our learners in the Philippines. As secondary parents, okay, what can teachers do to support our learners during this time? First tip ko po sa inyo, it's okay to not be okay. Memorize nyo na po yung line na yan. It's a line that you can use when you see that your students are not feeling okay. Actually po, kaya ako gustong-gusto yung line na yan kasi po, um, title po yan ng isang famous Korean telenovela. Hindi ko lang alam kung naipalabas na dyan sa Philippines, no? Pero maganda pong line niya na gamitin sa mga students. It's okay to not be okay. You can also tell yourself that if that is what you are feeling right now. Second po, help them feel more in control and help them feel safe. Kung they feel that they are not safe from this virus, okay, help them po think of something else so that they don't keep worrying about their safety. Find ways po to connect them with their friends. Okay? So, minsan po kasi, dahil po sa pandemic, miss na po ng mga kabataan yung mga kaibigan nila. So, tanong niyo po, kailan kayo last nag-text? Kailan kayo last nag-usap? Ano pa bang ibang paraan para makausap mo yung mga kaibigan mong miss mo? And next concept, okay, there's in psychology, meron kaming tinatawag na term na radical acceptance. Okay, ano ba yon? Letting go of the illusion of control and willingness to notice and accept things as they are right now. No judgments. Nandito na po yung pandemic. Wala na po tayong magagawa. Nandyan na yan. Pero, meron tayong magagawa in terms of controlling yung spread niya. Social distancing, wearing a mask, staying at home, mga bagay na ganon. Pero ang hindi po natin makokontrol is that nandyan na yan, hindi tayo pwede pumasok sa school, pero ano yung pwede mong gawin? Tanggapin na natin na ganyan na yan, pero ano yung pwede natin gawin dun sa oras na nasa bahay tayo at maging positibo tayo. Okay? We've talked about the mental health of our students. I've also spent time to discuss about your own mental health. I've given you tips on what you can do to care for your mental health. I've given you tips as well on how you can support your students' mental health as well. So, if you take a look at the pyramid in this slide, this is the pyramid for MHPSS services, also known as the MHPSS Continuum of Care. The tips that I provided you with, at what tier would you find those in? Would they be in level 1? Do those tips fit into basic services? Do those tips fit into level 2, family and community support? Or is it part of focused care or specialized care? So, what I've given you so far through this presentation is what you call focused care. And um, you, as teachers, will also be able to provide some sort of focused care to your students through what you call psychological first aid. So how are we going to provide PFA? Okay? Ganito po natin ipoprovide ang PFA. Magkakaroon po kayo ng kopya ng mga modules. Okay? Dati pa po kayong may kopya ng CIS manual. Ito po parang extension ng CIS manual. Okay? Run the module sessions appropriately. Tuturuan po namin kayo this morning kung paano nyo magagawa yan. Pero please remember, number 2, know your context. Ano ba ibig sabihin nun? Okay? Hindi ko alam kung ilan sa inyo ang nagtuturo ng mga children with special needs. Hindi ko alam, baka meron po sa inyo ang nagtuturo sa mga IPs. Or baka naman meron grupo na nagtuturo ng mga ibang religious denominations. Okay? Know your context. Kung iba po yung konteksto nyo dun sa nakasaad sa activities, no, dun sa modules, pwede nyo pong baguhin. Pwede nyo ibahin yung activity. Pakisigurado lang po na yung activity na gagamitin nyo, swak pa rin. Okay? Dapat swak pa rin siya dun sa objectives ng bawat module. So ikako nga, adjust nyo yung activities. Okay lang yan. Basta po swak dun sa objectives. Tapos po, focus on your PFA skills. Mamaya po, si Dr. Ed, pag-uusapan po niya kung paano maging great PFA provider. Makinig po kayo sa video niya. Tsaka pagkatapos po nun, marami rin kaming ibibigay ng tips para po maging mas okay pa yung PFA skills niyo. How are we going to provide psychological first aid to our students? We will provide PFA using 4 modules. Where can we find those 4 modules? We will find them in this new document that will be given to you. It is called the 2020 Online and Self-Guided PFA Modules. These are modules that are supplemental to the CES manual. We will discuss further about the contents of this manual in the next part of our training. Ayan. So thank you po for listening. At this point po, I'd like to turn you over to Sir Ed for some introduction for his video. Sir Ed?
Yeah, so there's this guide for teachers, no? And this guide contains different learning. You have learning Pact 1 to Learning 7, okay? Under Learning Pact 1, you have understanding disasters and other terminologies. Alam nyo, disasters really impact individuals in a number of ways. Storms, earthquakes, and human or animal-induced disasters. And so we learn about different terminologies like capacity development, disaster risk and management, disaster risk reduction, and many more. Okay? And then we talked about Learning Path 2. Dito po, yung understanding mental health and psychosocial social support. Ito po yung nilalaman nung dati nating CES, no? Nire-review po lamang natin. Okay. Now, according to IASC, and that's the Interagency Standing Committee, yun daw pong mental health and psychosocial support refers to the many ways of external support provided by individuals to groups or persons in order to promote their well-being or prevent or treat mental disorders. And then you have Learning Path 3, no? Ito yung understanding students from 12 to 17 years of age. This is the vulnerable stage of junior high school. Ito po yung mga estudyante natin, no? Adolescence is a period of heightened emotions. And they think, the adolescents think that what they are going through is unique and that no one understands them. And then we had Learning Pact 4. Ito po yung guide sa facilitators. Here, it answers the question, who can facilitate the psychosocial interventions in the CES manual? So we realized that the role of the teachers or the facilitators is to guide the students, okay, to the process of self-reflection and learning. And then we have Learning Pact 5, no? We have PFA and resilience. PFA is a human non-intrusive way of treating another individual who may be suffering and needing support. And then we have Learning Pact 6. This is all about grief. This came from DepEd and DOH in 2007. Okay, sinuggest po ng DepEd na kailangan din yung grief, no? Or pagdadalamhati sapagkat sila ay nawalan o sila ay iniwan ng kanilang mahal sa buhay. Yun po yung mga pagkakataon na nagkaroon tayo ng mga sakuna katulad ng Yolanda at kung ano-ano pa. This is where we discuss the general stages of grief and how to provide support to a grieving adolescents. And lastly, we have Learning Pack 7. Okay, ito po importante yung Learning Pack 7 kasi ito yung tungkol sa ating self-care. Paano natin inaalagaan yung ating sarili? Paano natin minamahal yung ating sarili or binibigyan ng pag-aaruga man lang? Because it is possible for us, facilitators, teachers, to experience a number of stress responses which are considered common when we work with survivors. And so we added a list of self-care activities for all of us teachers. Pag-usapan po natin ngayon kung ano ang psychological first aid or PFA. Okay? So what is psychological first aid? Ito po ay isang disaster response. At usually ito binibigay 2 weeks after a stressful situation or an incident, no? A stressful incident. Ito po ay nakatuon sa practical at sa mga pragmatic na pangangailangan ng mga survivors, and it also includes information on support and referral systems and the education of normal responses to trauma and coping. It is a recommended approach by the United Nations, by the WHO, by Red Cross, and those doing humanitarian work during emergency situations. What PFA is not. Marahil mas magandang paliwanag kung ano ang PFA sa pamamagitan ng pagpapaliwanag sa kung ano ito hindi. Okay? It is not crisis counseling or psychological debriefing. So mag-ingat po tayo, yung po mga guidance counselor sa atin o yung may background about counseling, baka po tayo matempt, no, na magbigay ng counseling. Hindi po counseling ang PFA because in psychological debriefing or counseling requires survivors to relieve distressing events. So, kailangan po nila ay critical incident stress debriefing. Okay, CISD. Ito po ay na-discover ng according sa pag-aaral ng research, it has actually been found to be more harmful to some survivors. And it is not asking people to analyze what happened or to put time and events in order. And because to expect them to have insights at this time, it's not realistic. And although PFA involves being available to listen to people's stories, it is not pressuring people to tell you their feelings or reactions to an event. Ngayon po ay paghambingin natin ang CISD at ang PFA. Ang CISD at PFA sa simula, meron pong introduction, magpapakilala yung pong facilitator at ganun din tatanungin niya yung pangalan ng bawat participants. Okay, sa PFA, nandoon po kayo. Mahalaga po yung meron kayong engagement. You're physically present or through virtual means, you are in contact with your participants. Meron pong detailed narration of events. Ano bang nangyari? So ipapakwento ninyo, isasalaysay nila mula sa simula, no, hanggang sa matapos. And then sa PFA naman, mahalaga po yung safety and comfort. Yung po bang relax yung pakiramdam, payapa, no? Hindi sila nag-aalala. So we need to stabilize also their feelings. Sa CISD, merong exploration of thoughts. Talaga pong pinag-aaralan yan at inuurirat kung ano yung kanilang nasa isipan. Sa PFA, we gather informations. Nang sa ganon ay lalo natin silang matulungan. There's focus on reactions to that particular stressful event in CISD, whereas in PFA, we just provide them with practical assistance. They look for symptoms in CISD. They look for symptoms for any psychopathological disorder. Okay? And then in PFA, we connect them to their social supports. Okay? Nililink po natin sila kung kanino sila maaaring pumunta. Okay? And then there's teaching in CISD. In PFA, we provide them with tips on how to cope better Okay, and then in CISD, there's re-entry. Okay, they're expected to go back to their normal ways of living. Okay, and that everything is already okay. While in PFA, we link them with different services that are available in the community. So why PFA? What are the key resilience factors? You see, people do better over the long term if they feel safe, if they feel connected to others, if they feel calm and hopeful, if they have access to social, physical, and emotional support. They regain a sense of control by being able to help themselves. What are the objectives of PFA? Number one, to recreate a sense of safety. Number two, establish useful connections to their immediate needs. And number three, to re-establish a sense of efficacy. Kanino natin pwedeng ibigay ang PFA? Ito po yung maaari nating ibigay sa mga survivors, sa mga tao na sobrang nadidistress sila. Okay. People who are recently or who were recently exposed to a very serious stressful event such as this pandemic, okay, na tayo pong lahat ay nararanasan ang bagay na ito. At ito ay maaaring ibigay sa mga adults at sa mga kabataan. And not everyone who experiences a crisis event will need or want PFA.
Okay, there you have it. Meron po muna tayong pause for the session of Sir Ed. Meron po muna tayong i-play na video po before po tayo mag-proceed po sa ating session. Okay? So stay tuned. Let's watch this video.
Thank you.
Okay, at this moment, let us listen to the Undersecretary for Field Operations and the YACO, Undersecretary this moment, let us listen to the message of Undersecretary for Field Operations and the YACO, Undersecretary
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us in our online training in providing psychological first aid to our learners. We are very grateful that you, officials, teachers, and non-teaching personnel, are with us today in our effort to rise with our learners during this time of pandemic. From the central office to our hardworking our learners, and your efforts to innovate and extend your service to our DepEd family and to our DepEd community, and more importantly, to the whole country. It is true that in the Department of Education, we rise as one community, as one family for the future of our learners and of our nation. Rising together is no easy task. In fact, this pandemic has taken a toll on our emotional and psychological health, on top of our other difficulties and challenges. Healing our nation of its current struggles requires us to take care of our health and the health of our learners too. Thus, the DepEd community needs an intervention like psychological first aid, not only to heal, but to strengthen our spirits for the new normal. Psychological first aid is a humane and supportive response to someone who is suffering and may be in need of support. This type of first aid is made to reduce initial distress, meet the needs of our learners, and promote flexible ways of coping in difficult times like this, like what we are facing in this time of pandemic. More importantly, it is practical care and support because what we put first is the needs of our learners, followed by resolutions to help them feel safer and happier. It is the end goal we see with our learners, a safer and happier education for all. Whether or not we are in these difficult situations, we must continue to listen, understand, and give hope to every member of the DepEd family, to every member of the DepEd community. I am confident that this online training will not only benefit our learners, but also your loved ones and immediate communities during this time of pandemic. The Department of Education will continue to adapt and grow through the current and with the hope and care you all bring to this community, healing as one will be a reality. Thank you very much, and I hope you all learned something new and something great for our country today. Mabuhay at magandang umaga sa inyong lahat.
Thank you very much, Yusek Revsi, for the message. Indeed, the Department of Education is adapting to this new normal approach, and we are really reaching out to our teachers to do and maximize our need and the things that we need to provide for our learners. At this time, let us proceed again to one of the things na ibinibigay po ng DepEd Central Office, ang psychological first aid provision, which is idinidiscuss po ni Sir Ed. Okay? Back to Sir Ed's presentation.
Natin pwedeng ibigay ang PFA. Ito po ay maaari na to a very serious stressful event such as this pandemic. Okay, na tayo pong lahat ay nararanasan ang bagay na ito. At ito ay maaaring ibigay sa mga adults at sa mga kabataan. And not everyone who experiences a crisis event will need or want PFA. So don't force help on those who don't want it, but make yourself available and easily accessible to those who may want support. Who needs more advanced support than PFA alone? So these are people with serious life-threatening injuries, people so upset that they cannot care for themselves or their children, people who may hurt themselves, and people who may hurt or endanger the lives of others. So sila po ay threat na sa community. Where do you give PFA? You can give PFA wherever it is safe enough for you to be there. So mahalaga po yung safety nila. Ideally, with certain privacy as appropriate to protect confidentiality and dignity of the affected person. When do you give PFA? Upon your first contact with very distressed people, students, survivors, kamag-anak ninyo, kapitbahay ninyo, o kung sino pa man. Usually immediately following an event, or sometimes a few days, a few weeks, or months after. So ano po yung mga nakapaloob sa PFA? Okay, paano po ito sinasagawa? Mahalaga po na merong contact, merong safety and comfort that we are able to provide. There is gathering of information. that we are able to stabilize their feelings, their emotions, no, na sila po ay naguguluhan, sila po ay natatakot, sila ay nangangamba, sila ay marami pa silang iba't ibang nararamdaman. So we need to just normalize their feelings, their situations. We give them practical assistance. We connect with their social support. We give them tips on how to cope better, and we link them with services. Okay, paano po natin isasagawa yung pagpapakilala? Paano natin i-introduce yung sarili natin? So simply we just say, hello, ako si Edward, at kasama ko ngayon si teacher ganito or ganon. Okay, sabihin ang pangalan ng teacher. Okay? Kasi sa simula po ng klase, maaaring ma-assign tayo sa mga estudyante na hindi pa tayo kilala at hindi nila tayo kilala. Okay? So what's your name? Who are you with? Anong pangalan mo? May mga kasama ka ba? Okay. That's an informal way of introducing yourself. If not immediately after the disaster, so you just say, I am here to be of help to you in whatever way I can. Nandito ako upang makatulong sa anumang paraan na makakaya. Paano naman po natin isasagawa or to make sure na meron pong safety and comfort, na meron pong kaligtasan at maayos o may kaginhawaan ang pakiramdam ng ating mga participants or survivors? First and foremost, we need to ensure the safety of environment. Mahalaga po na kung kailangan nating mag-sanitize ng classroom, that is, kung tayo ay babalik na sa klase, okay, or paalalahanan natin ng ating mga estudyante, kung sila ay nasa bahay, about the safety, no, of their environment. Okay? And then we check if they are comfortable, if they have eaten, or if there is something that they urgently need. So, komportable ba kayo? Nakakain ba kayo? And then for gathering of information, paano tayo kukuha ng impormasyon? Maaari nating sabihin, anong nangyari dito? Kumusta na kayo? Ano ang inyong pakiramdam? Is there anything that you are experiencing right now that could be bothering you? Meron ba kayong nararamdaman na nahihirapan kayo? And how can I be of help? Paano ako makakatulong? Stabilize or pagpapatatag. Paano natin ito gagawin? Una, we have to check for signs that they are overwhelmed or disoriented. And in the course of talking to the students, to the people, you may observe that he or she needs to further calm down. So, kumusta ang pakiramdam or kalagayan ninyo ngayon? It seems like you are finding it hard to breathe. You're very tense, no? Would you like me to teach you how to breathe better or how to calm down? Mukhang hinahabol po ninyong mabuti ang inyong paghinga. Gusto po ba ninyo na tulungan ko kayo kung paano mas magaang huminga or pakalmahin ang sarili ninyo? Okay? So you just have to adjust your sentence kung ang kausap ninyo ay estudyante, kung ang kausap ninyo ay matatanda, no, or ibang tao. Okay, so you just have to adjust your way of talking to them or way of conversing with them. The next one would be reassuring survivors that symptoms are normal given an abnormal situation. That it is all right, that it is okay to be not okay in this not so okay situation. Okay? These are normal reactions to intense situation like what we all go through right now. So lahat naman po tayo, siguro kahit paano, ay naapektuhan, okay, ng pandemic na ito, itong COVID-19. So huwag kayong mag-alala. Okay? Hindi po ibig sabihin yan, if you use the words of the person, hindi po ibig sabihin yan na kayo ay nababaliw, o na kayo ay mahina, o kayo ay duwag. Isang normal na karanasan po yan ng mga taong dumaraan sa matinding kalamidad, okay, o sa matinding pandemic or virus, katulad ng inyong dinaranas. How do we provide practical assistance? First, to be able to provide practical assistance, we have to identify their needs. Ano ang pinakakailangan ninyo sa ngayon? Well, I can go out and find out what has happened to your companions. Halimbawa po, pag sinabi natin companions, marami sa kanila ang merong issue ng nagkahiwalay or napahiwalay. Halimbawa, napahiwalay yung kanilang ama or ina sa kanilang bayan at hindi nakauwi kaagad, inabutan ng lockdown. Okay, like meron akong alam, nakipag-living siya, okay, at naabutan siya ng lockdown, no? Kasi malayo yung kanyang uuwi ang tahanan. Okay, so yung mga ganong bagay, pwede nating alamin kung may impormasyon na tungkol sa iyong mga kasama. And kung ang estudyante naman ang inyong kausap, isang survivor na estudyante, kausap niyo sa corridor or kausap niyo sa canteen or wherever or online, where would you like to stay while I look for your friends? So gagawa po tayo ng paraan para mabigyan sila ng practical assistance kung paano sila matutulungan na hanapin yung kanilang mga mahal sa buhay o kaibigan na nawawala. Connection with social support. So we must be able to connect with their primary support persons and other sources of support. Meron bang tumutulong or makakatulong sa inyo? So kawawa po yung pong mga kabataan na marahil ay sila ay nakatira sa kanilang mga lolo o sa kanilang mga lola na limited yung kanilang interaction sa ibang tao. So, mahalaga po na matulungan natin ang mga bata. How can we provide them with coping tips or coping mechanisms? First, we have to obtain information on coping. Ano na ba yung ginagawa nila? Okay? Upang sila ay malampasan nila itong nangyayaring ito. Okay? Bigyan natin sila ng affirmation. Kung maganda na rin kanilang ginagawa, okay, sila ay nag-exercise ng tuwing umaga, okay, sila ay kumakain ng maayos, ayon sa oras, at sila ay nagkakaroon ng mabuting pagtulog, or sila ay they keep themselves busy, iba-iba, may variations yung kanilang ginagawa. So let's affirm them positively. Okay? Magandang coping mechanisms po itong mga simpleng bagay na ganito. And let's provide them with informations on self-help. Turuan natin sila kung paano po mag-yoga, kung marunong kayong mag-yoga. Maghanap po kayo sa YouTube, no? Maraming pagkakataon dyan, iba't ibang uri ng yoga techniques or relaxation techniques. Okay? So maaari bang or meron bang tumutulong or makakatulong sa kanila. So what are some other coping skills that you can teach? You can teach them simple relaxation techniques. As I've said, breathing exercises. Alam niyo po yung ginagawa ko ngayon ay isang uri ng exercise, Qigong or Tai Chi. No? So maraming kaparaanan. So kung meron po silang access sa YouTube, pwede po silang tumingin ng mga simple relaxation techniques like diaphragmatic breathing. Okay, paghinga ng malalim na nagmumula dito sa kanilang diaphragm. Okay? And then we teach them how to seek social support. May mga tao po na takot o nahihiyang humingi ng tulong. Okay. So, gabayan po natin sila kung paano tumanggap ng tulong, kung paano kumausap o makipag-usap sa kanilang pamilya, kaibigan, o maging ng pare kung kailangan nila ay pare ang kausap. Okay? Let them talk about your feelings with them. Normalize their behaviors. By normalizing their behavior, they have to follow a normal routine as much as possible. Okay? And yun, be careful not to skip meals. Mahalaga po na lagi silang busog, at masustansya yung kanilang kinakain. That they don't dwell on TV, they don't dwell on television, on cell phone or newspaper reports on the tragedy. As much as possible, iwasan po nila ang masyado silang bombarded ng fake news, no? At yung mga negative informations about this pandemic. Exercise and stay active. So linking with services, bilang closure natin, kailangan pong pasalamatan natin sila and let's help them get the help that they need. Salamat sa inyo. Okay, kapag kailangan ninyong mag-grocery, bukas na ang ilang establishments at grocery stores. Okay? Alam ba ninyo kung saan ngayon pwedeng kumuha ng quarantine pass o ng permit upang makapagbiyahe mula sa isang distrito papunta sa iba? Okay? So ito po yung mga bagay na simple, practical. Ito po yung mga ginagawa natin para sa PFA. And how do we look or ensure safety through proper contact and engagement within the classroom? Pwede po naman na ito madaling gawin, ano, pagka nagkita na po ng harapan yung po mga mag-aaral at ang mga guro, we can gather everyone at an area such as the gymnasium. So may mga ganong pagkakataon. Or we can have the principal say a few words to welcome the students back and add some words of encouragement. Mahalaga po na nakikita din nila ang kanilang principal, ang kanilang punong guro. Nang sa ganon ay parang balik sila sa kanilang normal routine. At ang principal po, the mere sight of the fact that the principal is there, ibig sabihin yan, parang normal na yung mga bagay-bagay. Okay? And we have to remind the students that our school, your school, is a place of 3 S's. Ito po yung safety, may kaligtasan dito sa loob ng ating paralan, meron pong security, at merong support. So ito po yung safety, security, and support, or the 3 S's. And inform the students of the various programs available in order to help them cope with the recent pandemic event. And we introduced the SIS program that will be used inside the classroom or virtually in order to support and further develop the 3 S's. And if you're going to do PFA, make sure that you have a network or that you are working with other organizations who can provide for other needs of individuals. Alam niyo, mahalaga at malaking tulong, malaking bagay para sa ating mga guro na kabilang tayo sa napakalaking network, napakalaking organization ang Department of Education or DepEd. No? Mahalaga po ito sapagkat hindi tayo maaaring magbigay ng PFA ayon sa sarili lamang nating kakayahan at ayon lamang sa sarili nating lakas. Otherwise, it will just frustrate people if you ask them what their needs are without being able to help them find solutions. And we have to be able to respect people's rights to make decisions, not to disclose. And we respect people's privacy and their stories, and be aware of your own prejudices and biases and be able to set them aside. So, paalala lang po, tandaan po natin ang mga bagay na ito. What about students who show such signs should be referred to a professional? Such signs such as those with serious life-threatening injuries, students with thoughts of death or dying, or that they are being better off dead. Okay? Marami po tayong mag-aaral na ganito. Alam niyo po, dalawang klase ang suicide. Meron po tayong tinatawag na genuine suicidal. Talagang may layunin po na tapusin niya ang kanyang buhay. At yung isa naman ay NSSI. Anong ibig sabihin ng NSSI? Non-suicidal self-injury. Pero ang mabigat po dito sa NSSI, ay yung pong tinatawag nating aksidente. Sila po yung nagsusugat o sinasaktan nila yung kanilang sarili. Okay? Minsan po nawawalan sila ng control or dahil meron na silang personality disorder na hindi naman natin nalalaman, sila po ay wala ng pakiramdam. Hindi na sila nagkakaroon ng control, okay, sa kanilang ginagawa. And mauwi yan sa suicide. Thoughts of hurting themselves or someone else, nananakit sa ibang tao. And those who cannot care for themselves, those with disorganized thinking, magulo mag-isip, mahirap kausapin, okay, walang flow yung kanyang pag-iisip, no? O yung kanyang mga ideas, sabog, ika nga. Those with overt and explosive anger, yan, explosive anger. Hostility, those who are frequently getting into fights for simple reasons that are trivial. And so once teachers return with their students to the classroom, or once, when we say classroom sa online platform, once we start, okay, with schooling, sometime August 24, we should carefully look for signs. Dapat sensitive po tayo. Okay? That may indicate that certain students may need additional help. And if that's the case, referral na po ang gagawin natin. We refer the students to psychiatrists or psychologists. There. So let's refer them. Those with extreme emotional pain or frequent crying spells. Those with blunted affect, they lack motivation and they have low frustration tolerance. So sila yung madaling panghinaan ng loob. Sila yung madaling bumigay. Sila yung nag-iisip na ayaw ko na, give up na ako. O minsan naman wala silang motivasyon sa pag-aaral at wala silang nararamdaman. Okay? Parang pareho lang, blunted affect. And they feel hopeless or they are in despair. Yung bang mga bata na meron silang mga glazed or vacant look sa kanilang mga mata. Yung bang parang malayo yung kanilang tingin. So pansinin po natin kung meron tayong mga ganung estudyante. Okay? Or they're talking to self. They have imaginary persons that they talk to. So yun po bang matatakot na tayo, di po ba? So hindi natin kayang i-handle ito. At dahil hindi natin ito kayang i-handle, hindi po sila napopossess or nasasapian. Okay? So mahalaga po, ulitin ko po, na i-refer natin sila sa professional. Yun po bang ayaw paiwan? Ayaw nang siya iiwanan ng kakilala niya or kaibigan niya. So they continually seek out other people and they're overly clingy and dependent. So maging sensitive po tayo dito. Okay? Those who are uncommunicative or are withdrawn from others. So ito yung mga tao na dati naman ay nakikipag-usap, dati naman siya po yung life of conversation, ika nga, no? Pero ngayon siya po ay nag-iisa, siya ay humihiwalay sa ibang mga kaklase. And so he is alone and there is no source of support. So how do we listen and link? You know, in modules 1 to 4, so these modules will be used in order to allow teachers or facilitators to listen to the needs of students and to link them. Okay, i-link po natin sila doon sa tamang tao o opisina na nagbibigay ng serbisyo.
There. Thank you very much, Sir Ed, for the presentation and the introduction for psychological first aid, the principles of PFA, the look, listen, and link. At this time, nire-remind po namin ng mga viewers to place your comments and questions sa ating chat box sa baba. Lagyan po ng pangalan po ng region po ninyo, ng division at ng inyong pangalan para po makonsolidate po ng DRRMS staff. At this time, let us give this time for the presentation of Miss Katie for basic facilitation skills. Miss Katie?
So, good morning po ulit sa inyong lahat, no? Thank you, Sir Mark, for introducing me. So, as mentioned by Sir Ed, the psychosocial interventions in the CEAS manual, including PFA, can be delivered by teachers, guidance counselors, school heads, and other non-teaching personnel as long as you are trained to facilitate this program. So if you're online on the other side of my screen right now, you will be able to facilitate the Cs after this online training. So the program doesn't really require an expert, but someone who can support, enable, and empower learners to find their own answers. So Cs facilitators are expected to have certain competencies depending on the mode of delivering the modules. So it can be either in the traditional classroom, online, or through self-guided means. So let's find out more through this video that I prepared for you. Hi, my name is Katie and I'm here to guide you on how to facilitate the C's manual online and remotely. We designed C's in a way that it does not require experts to facilitate its modules. Rather, it can be facilitated by trained educators who can support, enable, and empower their students while they figure out their way through any crisis situation. In running C's remotely, facilitators are expected to have mastery of program design and facilitation skills that are adaptable to different modes of delivery. To master the C's program design, you should read the manual and understand the overall program framework, familiarize yourself with module objectives, activities, and talking points, practice delivering the modules, and if needed, translate the terms to the local dialect, and adjust the activities to suit the mode of delivery, resources, and nature of your learners. To develop your facilitation skills in delivering C's online and remotely, try to practice active listening, integrating, process observation and analysis, effective communication techniques, and creating unconditional acceptance and support. Active listening requires that the learner fully concentrate, understand, respond, and then remember what is being said. It involves 4 steps: contact, absorb, feedback, and confirm. Here are some suggestions for putting these steps into action. Contact by listening to each student attentively and reinforce what is being said through nonverbal responses like nodding. Absorb by taking in what each student says, as well as their body language or facial expressions without judgment or evaluation. Feedback by paraphrasing and summarizing what the student says back to you, and then confirm by validating with your students if you were able to accurately understand their ideas. Active listening techniques can help you truly understand what your students are saying. To deliver C's, you must be able to integrate different ideas. Sometimes a lot of ideas and conversation themes emerge in a session, especially when you are handling a large group. When this happens, you need to get everyone on the same page before moving forward. You can do this by providing suggestions for organizing themes so that the discussion stays on track to achieve the module objectives. Alternatively, you can also ask a co-facilitator or note-taker to record remaining topics in a parking lot to revisit at a different time. Process observation and analysis, or POA, involves observing the interactions and atmosphere within a group. In a traditional classroom, it's easy to watch for students who are falling asleep, fidgeting, or not paying attention. However, for online delivery, facilitators need to look more closely for other indicators such as tone of voice, facial expressions, and level of participation in the discussion. A good example of practicing POA is when multiple participants want to speak at the same time. You can manage the process by jotting down the names of people who have something to say and letting each individual speak one at a time without interruption. Check each name off until everyone who wants to speak has done so. You must also sharpen your observation skills and pay closer attention to signs of stress and anxiety. Some common reactions to stressful events include sadness, anger, fear, lack of motivation, becoming violent, headaches, muscle pain, difficulty sleeping, and lack of appetite. These reactions are natural and may fluctuate over time. However, some students may have longer lasting and more intense reactions. When this happens, they might be seriously distressed. If it stops them from being able to function, it is likely that you will need to refer the student to specialized support. Here are some indicators to look for. Being very upset that they cannot take care of themselves or others. Talking about wanting to hurt or kill themselves. Doesn't know their name, where they are from, or what's happening. Being very withdrawn. Shouting. Being angry. Threatening to hurt others, or feeling disoriented or unreal. Observe and pay close attention to these indicators in what they write, say, or do. Once you know what signals to look for, let me also share with you some techniques that can help you be more effective in delivering Cs online and remotely. First, pay attention to your vocal delivery to keep your students engaged. Use visually attractive and readable learning materials. Be precise with your language. Provide feedback effectively. And finally, encourage your students to ask questions and share experiences. When they do, be sure to affirm them that there is no right or wrong experience. Even if from a distance, it is important for you to create a safe space for students to have unconditional acceptance and support. Beyond everything that I just said, your attitude as a facilitator is also very important. Your role will be to guide your students through the process of self-reflection and learning. You can empower them to do so by believing in their ability to cope and encouraging them to help themselves. I hope that this helps you to better support, enable, and empower your students during this crisis situation, whether online or remotely. If you have any questions, please write them down so we can discuss them during our training session. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. We're going to be giving more tips on how to facilitate the modules later on today. So I hope you stay tuned. We will now be talking about the rationale on the C's manual.
All right. Yeah, let me share my screen. Okay, there you go. Okay, kita na ba?
Yes
All
po.
right. All right. Wait lang ah. All right, here we go. So, yung dati nyo pong ginagamit na manual, ang tawag po doon ay SEAS, okay? Supporting, Enabling, and Empowering Students. Pero this time po, dahil online na ang learning at saka meron na tayong remote learning, no? Magkakaroon tayo ng bagong SEAS. Ang tawag po dyan ay ang SEAS Online and Self-Guided Modules, PFA modules. So this is how our talk will proceed today. Okay, we will talk about quickly how did the Cs come about, what is in the Cs, teka po bakit hindi lumilipat yung slides natin? Let's try again. Meron lang po tayong konting technical difficulties.
Medyo maulan po nowadays, so baka that has something to do with it.
Baka. Ayan. Is it better now? Ayan na.
Yes, it
Right. There you
Alright.
go. All right. So, outline. How did the Cs come about? Okay, what ba is inside the Cs? Ano ba yung nilalaman ng Cs? Tapos after po that, pag-usapan natin, paano naman nagkaroon ng Cs OSG? Dati Cs lang, bakit ngayon may Cs OSG na? Ano po ang nilalaman ng Cs OSG? At ang pinaka-importante pong, pinakamahalagang bahagi po ng ating training today, yung mga guidance notes, no? Para matulungan kayo. Okay? So, mabilisan lang. How did the Cs come about, no? Dati po, 2007, may training manual na kayo. Binago po yun noong 2015. Okay? Yung bagong manual po noong 2015, ang tawag po doon, Psychosocial Interventions for Secondary School Age Students During Disasters and Emergencies. Paano po ni-revise yun? Ayan po, marami po kaming pinagdaanan para po ma-revise at matapos yung manual na yon na ginagamit nyo po from 2015 hanggang today po. Okay? Ano ba yung nilalaman ng Cs? Okay? Katie, naalala mo ba yung program framework natin, yung mukhang mata? Okay?
Yes, of course.
O, sige.
How can I forget?
Baka gusto mong ikwento yung mata na yon. Kaya nga Cs, di ba? Kasi mata. Sige.
Yes. So, yung 2015 Cs manual natin, binubuo siya, if you remember, ng 9 na module guides at 8 na learning packs para magkaroon ng ang ating facilitators ng background knowledge related to disasters, facilitation skills, grief at self-care, katulad ng sinabi kanina ni Sir Ed, no? Ang mga ito ay ginagabayan ng program framework na ito na mukhang mata, no? As you can see. Okay, so yung program framework natin, binubuo siya ng 2 phases. The first phase is the emergency phase. If you can see it, papunta doon po yung arrow. Sinasakop niya yung 6 months after a disaster. And then the second phase, ang recovery phase, sinasakop niya naman yung lampas doon sa 6 months hanggang 3 years after the disaster. So, ang modules na kabilang sa emergency phase ay ang modules 1 to 4 na nagde-deliver ng PFA in a school setting. Ito ay ang Module 1, Validating Feelings and Normalizing Reactions. Module 2, Calming Down and Controlling One's Emotions. Module 3, Linking, Identifying and Addressing Needs. At Module 4, Identifying Sources of Strength. Ang modules naman na kabilang sa recovery phase ay ang modules 5 to 9 na nagde-develop ng resilience o katatagan. Ito ay ang Module 5, Managing Physical Reactions, Module 6, Managing Thoughts and Emotions, next, Seeking Solutions and Social Support, Positive Activities, at lastly, Moving Forward.
Ayan.
Yes,
So,
yan ang linalaman ng Cs.
Yan. Thank you, Ma'am Katie. So apart po from the program framework, yung CIS po, meron siyang guides for teachers. Ito po yung kwento niya ni Sir Ed kanina, no? Yung mga learning packs na kasama. Yan. Alright. Ngayon, after po ng mga learning packs, ang isa pang nilalaman ng CIS ay yung 9 modules nga na sinabi ni Ma'am Katie. Ngayon, yung modules na yon na binigay sa inyo noong 2015, yung flow po nun, okay, sinunod po namin yung 4 A's of lesson plan making. So nagsisimula po siya sa isang activity, meron pong analysis, abstraction, tsaka application. Apart po from that, yung objectives, no, na nilagay namin dun sa mga modules, tinawag po namin siyang knowledge, values, and behaviors. Similar po yun dun sa mga objectives nyo na cognitive, affective, tsaka psychomotor. Tapos gaya nga ng sinabi ni Ma'am Katie, modules 1 to 4, ang focus po, PFA, yung diniscuss po in detail ni Sir Ed. Yung modules 4 to 9, ang focus po, resilience. Ano ba yung nilalaman ng module 1? Katie, naalala mo ba? Kwento mo naman sa amin kung ano yung laman ng module 1 sa CIS.
Yes po, Ma'am Pia. Ang unang module ng 2015 CIS ay ang listening to, validating, and normalizing feelings and reactions. So, the objectives are almost the same as in the new version, which are to help the students in identifying their feelings and reactions related to the disaster. So, helping them realize also that all their feelings and all their reactions are normal and valid. So, ang overall flow naman ng Module 1 sa traditional classroom setup ay nagsisimula sa pag-introduce ng facilitator sa mga estudyante ng module sessions at pag-imbita sa kanilang mag-express ng kanilang feelings and reactions sa recent disaster. So, ito ay ginagawa gamit ang isang group activity na nag-e-encourage sa kanilang magbahagi sa pamamagitan ng dance moves or actions na nagre-represent sa kanilang reaksyon sa sitwasyon, no? Matapos na mag-present ang lahat ng grupo, ginaguide ng facilitator ang mga participants sa pag-process o pag-analyze ng kanilang mga reaksyon. Gumagamit ang facilitator ng learning materials, printouts, o visual aids upang ipakita sa mga participants ang common reactions to stressful events. Ito ay tumutulong sa kanilang mag-realize na normal naman pala ang lahat ng kanilang feelings and reactions sa sakuna. So matapos nito, dinidistribute ng facilitator ang handout na When Terrible Things Happen mula sa National Child Traumatic Stress Network. Dito kailangan pwede rin makita or maging mas observant ang facilitator upang ma-refer to specialized support kung kinakailangan. Okay? So, ang Module 1 ay natatapos sa pag-apply ng kanilang mga natutunan sa buhay at sa pagbigay sa sarili nila ng isang affirmation na normal lang naman pala ang mga reaksyon nila sa sakuna gamit ulit ang galaw o facial expressions.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Katie. Okay, punta naman natin ang Module 2. Module 2, Sir Ed, kwento mo naman sa kanila kung anong nilalaman ng Module 2 ng CIS.
Ang Module 2 ng dating CIS, no, sa PFA ay may pamagat na calming down and controlling one's emotions. Now, the knowledge and values objectives are the following. At the end of the session, students or survivors are expected to be able to learn better methods of calming oneself down. And behaviorally, we hope to be able to see in them that they're capable of practicing calming down using a relaxation exercise. So, ano yung kabuuan ng pagsasalaysay o paglalahad ng aralin na ito o ng session na ito? Magsisimula tayo sa isang introduction. Okay, we ask them, how do you manage your feelings? Okay, and then pagkatapos nito, dadako tayo sa activity, no? Siyempre, mahaba po yung ating introductions. Marami pa pong mga palabok dyan like kumusta kayo o ano yung mga naramdaman, etc. etc. Now to the activity part, ano po ito nakafocus doon sa pagbe-brainstorm or pagdi-discuss or paglalahad ng mga kaparaanan kung paano sila natutulungan ng kanilang techniques how to calm down. Pagkatapos, mas lalalim. Mag-i-introduce si teacher ngayon ng mga arm movements, parang magkakaroon ng leader from among the students and gagayahin ng lahat ng estudyante yung galaw ng leader na yon. So meron siyang hip movements, meron siyang leg movements, at merong combined breathing exercise. Pagkatapos nito ay isang analysis or application at ipaprocess na po natin yung mga kabataan, no? Like we ask them, how do you feel right now? Okay, tapos sasagot yung mga bata, palagay ko po ay mas mabuti ang aking pakiramdam, palagay ko po ay mas kalmante ako or kampante ako ngayon, palagay ko po ako ay masaya. Okay. And magsasara or matatapos ang module 2 na ito ng PFA sa pamamagitan ng salitang namaste. Okay, ang salitang namaste po ay salita mula sa Hindu at ito ay pinapractice ngayon ng mga Indian, no? Ito po ay bowing down at sila ay nagpapasalamat or nagsasabi ng mga magagandang salita so that the other person would feel better, okay, would feel calm down and able to control his emotions.
Salamat, Sir Ed. Ako naman ang magkukwento sa inyo ng nilalaman ng Module 3. Pero bago ko po ikwento yon, binabantayan ko rin kasi yung mga comments niyo sa Facebook Live. So alam ko po ang isa niyong comment, okay, madalas po ang kino-comment is nasaan po ang modules? Nasaan ang kopya ng CIS? Nasaan ang kopya ng CIS OSG? Huwag po kayong mag-alala. Bibigyan po kayo mamaya ng DRRMS ng website na siyang magiging online repository po ng lahat ng manuals natin. So makukuha niyo yung dating CIS, makukuha niyo rin itong bagong CIS. So wag po kayong mag-alala. Pati po yung video ni Ma'am Katie, basta pupuntahan niyo tong Facebook page na to, lahat po ng videos available doon. So pwede niyong panoorin. Okay? Ayan. So sana nakikinig pa tayo. Module 3 ng dating CIS, linking, identifying and addressing needs. Ang objective po nun, ma-identify yung current needs at nung bata at saka nung kanyang pamilya. Be aware of the various institutions, departments, and centers present within the school environment or the immediate community. Sa behavioral objective naman, take note of the important numbers and information regarding who to approach regarding their needs. Yan po. So yung teacher magbabasa ng konting information on PFA on her own para lang maalala kung paano gagawin ng PFA. Kailangan po alam niya yung important contact numbers dun po sa kanilang barangay. So yung activity, maglilista po sila using po a sheet, a table ng mga emergency contact numbers and information. Sabay-sabay niyo po yan gagawin with your students. Tapos po, merong list of common needs. Tapos, doon ibabase ng mga estudyante kung ano yung mga needs ng family members nila. Okay? Sa analysis naman, after matapos yung pag-fill out ng paper na yon, ng papel na yon, tatanungin natin yung mga bata. Remember, ito yung classroom setting noon 2015 hanggang 2019. Hindi natin to masyadong magagamit ngayon kasi nga most of us magiging online na o remote yung teaching. Okay? How many of you know how to refer their friends and what are their own needs? Tatanungin natin sa kanila yon. Tapos sa application naman, were we able to identify our needs at saka yung needs po ng family? Ano po kaya yung pakiramdam nila ngayon na na-identify na nila yung needs nila? Tapos as usual, ang closing, meron chant or merong cheer. Module 4, back to you po, Sir Ed. Explain mo naman yung Module 4.
Yung Module 4 on PFA, the resilience part, would be entitled Sources of Strength. Yung dati nating ginawa noong 2015. For its knowledge and various values objectives, to be able to identify personal, social, and spiritual sources of strengths during and in the aftermath of the disaster or stressful situation. Tapos behaviorally, we want the students to be able to manifest this behavior, to be able to identify their internal and external sources of strength. Okay, and then we proceed to the introduction. So sa introduction, ang ginawa natin nung una, binalikan natin yung nangyari noong Module 1, Module 2, and Module 3. So we recall each of these 3 sessions. And then this time, for Module 4, we introduce an activity. Siyempre, mahaba pa po yung session 1 na yan, yung recollection of the previous sessions. No? But to cut the story short, we proceeded right away to handing out or giving out to them some materials. No? Okay, meron silang magdodrawing sila ng binta. Yung pong binta ay isang uri ng para siyang bangka. No? Ito ay very available sa Zamboanga o sa bandang Mindanao. Tapos meron tayong drawing ng saranggola, ng kite, no? Or bulador, or goryon, no? So napakaganda po nito. Pagkatapos, sasabihin natin na ano yung inyong sources of strength. Kasi doon po sa saranggola, doon sa goryon, meron pong 4 na bahagi. Okay, magdodrawing tayo. Doon sa loob ng 4 na bahagi, or parang diamond, hugis diamond na bahagi, ilalagay nila doon yung kanilang 4 sources of strength. And then, merong linya, di ba? Hahawakan nila yung linya or yung tali para lumipad yung goryon, para lumipad yung saranggola. So, that's it. So we asked them, how do you feel now? And then in terms of abstraction and application, we encourage them to try not to look at the negative. We encourage them to realize that they actually have many sources of strength within them. Okay? Para po silang saranggola na lumilipad sa pamamagitan ng tulong ng mga tao sa kanyang paligid. Pagkatapos, magtatapos tayo sa isang closing activity. So pwede silang parang chant din or cheer na in groups. Pwede nilang sabihin na kami ay matatag, kami ay masaya, kami ay kontento. Okay? Kami ay abala sa mabubuting mga gawain. Kami ay nagagalak, okay, and many others. Okay, so you thank them and you bid them goodbye.
Ayan po. Okay. At this point po, balik ko muna kayo kay Sir Mark. Hopefully po naintindihan niyo ang modules 1 to 4. Sir Mark? Nawala po yata si Sir Mark. Okay.
Ang hindi pa po bumabalik ang internet connectivity sa main. Okay. So maybe, do you want to proceed first or do you want to wait for Sir Mark?
Sige. Sabi nila, no, entertain tayo ng questions. Alam ko yung isang question, saan makakakuha ng module copies? Okay? Magkakaroon ng online repository ang DRRMS. Nandun po ilalagay. Favorite nyo sa Facebook Live ang videos ni Ma'am Katie. Okay? Pati po yung video ni Ma'am Katie, pwede nyong i-access doon. Okay? Tapos yung mga modules po, pwede nyo rin i-access doon. Sir Mark, nandyan na ba kayo?
Ayan, loading na po si Sir
Loading
Mark.
si Sir Mark. Okay. Habang loading, tingnan natin kung ano pa bang mga questions. Meron akong isa dito, nakita ko, no? Nakasulat. Dapat may kopya sila kasi pati daw yung modules makakatulong na i-alleviate or tulungan sila sa stress levels nila. Totoo po yun. Actually po, yung Cs kasi, di ba Ma'am Katie, Sir Ed, galing po yan talaga sa PFA manuals na ginagamit naman internationally. So actually, kahit na yung activities para sa mga bata, pwede nyo rin siyang gamitin at home for yourselves and your family members. Tama ba yon?
Yes, pwede.
Yes, correct. You can also, it can also be applied to yourselves if you want to try it out, if you feel like you need to do some self-care for PFA, or you can apply it.
Correct.
Ayan, may isa pa po tayong question.
Ano pa
We'll
ba?
entertain this other question from Ms. April Lauren Pamaran. What's
Sige.
the difference between mirroring and paraphrasing? Ang sagot ko po dyan, Ms. April, ay stay tuned kasi we will discuss this later on in a few minutes, okay? So, Ms. April, stay tuned.
Abangan ang
Nawala
susunod
po.
na kabanata.
Yeah, I think Sir Mark is having difficulty
Ayan,
connecting.
Sir Mark.
Ayan, he's back. Welcome back, Sir Mark.
Okay, ayan. I am
Pogi-pogi.
back. I'm sorry. Ano to? Tanungan lang. Let me read to you the question. Why is it not advisable to give counseling to our learners? Or kailan ba talaga tayo pwede magbigay ng counseling? From Rafaela Nolasco from Enyaranda National High School of Nueva Ecija.
Okay.
Sir Ed.
Yes. Ang tingin ko si Raul, tama ba pangalan niya, Raul? O that guy who asked the
It's
question?
Rafaela Nolasco. Rafaela Nolasco.
That girl.
May background siya sa counseling or palagay ko siya ay guidance associate or guidance counselor. Kailan tayo dapat magbigay ng counseling? Kasi una po, mahalaga muna na ipacify natin yung bata. Mahalaga muna na relax, may safety and comfortability siya. So unahin po natin yung mga practical assistance na i-provide natin yung bata bago natin siya bigyan ng counseling. Kasi ganito po, well, unless kung yung bata ay dumiretso agad sa counseling, pero kailangan po sensitive tayo. Kailangan po, ang sagutin natin sa sarili natin, ang kailangan ba nito ay counseling? Well, kung dati mo na siyang counseling at nakikipagkita na siya sa'yo, pwede. Okay. Pero, tanungin mo pa yung sarili mo, baka mas kailangan niya ng PFA. Okay. So kung hindi ka naman counselor, huwag ka nang magbigay muna ng counseling kasi po risky po kung pag-uusapan agad yung malalim na bagay, lalo na po yung mga issues and everything, no, hahalongkatin natin. Huwag po muna nating i-touch yung mga bagay-bagay na yon. Okay? So mahalaga po na basic yung ating gagawin, no? Yung meron silang sense of safety, sense of comfort, and then we connect them with friends, or we connect them with people na medyo hindi nila nakikita. Yung mga ganun po. Ngayon, kung talagang wala na sila doon, tapos na sila doon, then we can go into counseling provided that you are a trained, well-trained counselor. Yun po. Sir Mark?
There. I think that we have it right now. Thank you very much for the answer, Sir Ed. Okay. I think at this moment we will be having a 2 to 3 minute break.
Sige po.
I think at this moment we will have a 2 to 3 minute break before we proceed to our main modules.
Okay.
See you later.
Stretching po muna.
Laging handa. Laging handa. Bahat at tuyot, sunog, lindol, bagyo. Mga kalamidad na likas sa ating mundo. Napapahamak ang buhay at kabuhayan. Kaya naman kailangan ng paghandaan.
Maging handa, maging alerto. Tungkulin to ng bawat mamamayan. Kaya tara na, kilos na, lika na, tumulong tayo. Gawin na po ang karapat-dapat na maging laging handa. Tara na, kilos na, lika na, tumulong tayo. Gawin na po ang karapat-dapat na maging laging handa. Laging handa.
Kalamidad ay maaasahang darating.
Sa di inaasahang oras,
Kaya naman hindi na dapat hintayin. Unahan na habang di pa natataranta.
maging handa, maging alerto.
Tungkulin to ng bawat mamamayan. Kaya
Tara na, kilos na, lika na, tumulong tayo. Gawin na po ang karapat-dapat na maging laging handa. Tara na, kilos na, lika na, tumulong tayo. Gawin na po ang karapat-dapat na maging laging handa. Suriin mo mabuti ang iyong kapaligiran. Saan ka pa nakatira? Diyan ba ay bumabaha? Tuwing ka magpagkain, kumot pang sindi, first aid kit. Mga gamit pangligtas ng buhay dapat mabitbit. At sakaling lumindol o sumabog ang bigka, meron bang matadaanan palayo sa kasawian? Panahon na ay malupit at ang hangin hagupit. Mabuti na lang na tayo ay laging nakahanda. Tara na, kilos na, lika na, tumulong tayo. Gawin na po ang karapat-dapat na maging laging handa. Tara na, kilos na, lika na, tumulong tayo. Gawin na po ang karapat-dapat na maging laging handa.
This message was brought to you by the Department of Education with the support of World Vision Development Foundation.
Okay, there you have it. That was the official jingle and video of the Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Service. Okay, at this time, let us now proceed to the next topic, which is the rationale of the CSOSG and the guidance notes. Okay, let us hear again from our resource speakers, Dr. Pia, Sir Ed, and Ms. Katie. Ma'ams and sir?
Ayan, okay. Share ko na ulit yung screen ko. Okay? Technical difficulties na naman tayo. Ayan, kaya natin to. Ayan, nandyan na ba?
Madami tayong glitches ngayon.
It's still loading. Still loading.
Ayan.
There it
Cis
is.
to CSOSG. Paalala ko lang sa lahat ng nakikinig, 17,000 na yata kayong online ngayon, no? Paalala ko lang, sa part na to, kailangan ng makinig kasi
Ito na yun.
meron po tayong mga quizzes. Okay? Magkakaroon tayong ng mga quizzes. Teka, parang nagsimula siya sa maling part. So, puntahan natin tong isang part. Ayan, ito po yung tama. Okay? So, rationale muna. Okay? Sir Ed, gusto niyo bang ikwento? Bakit ba nagkaroon ng CSOSG?
Yeah, yung mga rationale nito, nagkaroon kasi ng OSG kasi alam naman natin as the pandemic, no, with other crisis situations, continues to affect the lives of people all over the world. Various sectors of governments have chosen to adopt other ways and means to continue to provide their services to the people. Tapos di po ba narinig natin sa balita, sa mga sa Facebook, sa social media, kung at saan-saan pa, that the President ordered a no school until there is a vaccine available policy. Now with the schools closed, the Department of Education recommended a shift in the school calendar, and then we moved the opening of classes to August 24, 2020. Okay. And then, pagkatapos po niyan, based on the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan of DepEd, okay, siguro familiar kayo dito, classes will be delivered using following learning delivery modalities. Ito po yung 4 na pamamaraan kung paano natin maaabot yung ating mga estudyante. Face-to-face learning, distance learning, blended learning, and homeschooling. And then the DepEd has also announced that a week before the opening, as well as the first week of opening of classes, will be devoted entirely to the provision of psychosocial services to the learners. Okay? And then the students, because they're unable to learn and perform if they have psycho-emotional problems. Okay, alam po natin to. Your role is to give psychosocial support to them in order to help them become more resilient and it will make them bounce back after and make your role as a teacher easier. Kaya po tayo nagtitraining ng ganito. Okay? So, yun po yung rationale.
Ma'am
So
Katie.
ano nga ba ang nagiging epekto ng disaster tulad ng kasulukuyang pandemic sa atin? So, na-mention earlier to ni Ma'am Pia, no? Pero unang-una, lahat ng apektado ay napapasailalim sa mabigat na emotional distress at vulnerability. So, tulad ngayong may COVID-19, marami sa atin ang di makatulog, di makakain, o nagiging worse ang health conditions dulot ng stress at anxiety. So, katulad ng sinabi ni Ms. Pia kanina, nag-overthink tayo, insecure, or we're very confused and irritable. So, naapektuhan din ng disaster ang mga protective support na normally available sa atin at sa ating mag-aaral. So, tulad ng social support ng kanilang mga kaklase at ng mga kabarkada, wala na yun ngayon kasi syempre we have to do social distancing and we have to stay home as much as possible. And sometimes nawawala din yung emotional support na available mula sa kanilang mga guidance counselors or kayo, ang kanilang mga guro, kasi suspendido ang mga klase, di ba? So ito ang rason kung bakit kailangan natin patuloy na mag-support, enable at empower sa ating mag-aral kahit gamit ang alternative modes of delivery tulad ng online at self-guided modules na ito.
Okay, salamat,
Yes.
Ma'am Katie. Punta naman tayo sa objectives. Okay. Sir Ed?
Yeah, yung objectives nitong bagong CIS ay ang mga sumusunod. Una, to be able to provide teachers and non-teaching staff with quick reference and guide regarding the proper conduct of PFA when delivered either online or through self-guided modules. So online or through self-guided modules. And then to equip teachers, to equip teachers with equip teachers with additional skills needed in the delivery of online and self-guided PFA, and further develop the competence of the users in developing or in delivering PFA using other platforms. And for the students naman, sabi natin, ang objectives natin ay to provide them with a venue, okay, by which they can discuss their fears, their feelings, and their anxieties. So magkaroon sila ng opportunity para dyan. And then enable them, our students, to manage their feelings and reframe their thoughts, and then empower students to look for linkages to services that could help others, and allowing students to focus on their strengths and support systems during a fearful and worrisome time.
All right. Thank you, Sir Ed. Okay. Now, ano ba yung nilalaman ng CIS-OSG? Pakita ko lang. Yan po ang CIS-OSG. Print out ko po, no? Kayo naman, magkakaroon kayo ng online copy. Bahala na po kayo kung gusto nyong i-print. Okay? Nandito po lahat yung mga diniscuss namin na facilitation skills. Yung rationale po, nandito rin. Tapos, nandito po yung kopya nyo ng modules that you can deliver online. Nandyan po yan sa page 18. Tapos po, sa page, I think, 32, nandun naman po yung copy ng mga self-guided modules. Yun pong self-guided modules, para po to sa mga bata na hindi makakapasok, ay makaka-online, makakasama niyo sa online, no? Pag hindi sila makakapunta sa online classes, i-print out niyo po to, meron po kayong budget nito, okay, para dito, galing po sa division office, or kung hindi naman ho, pwede daw gamitin yung downloaded na funds galing sa DRRMS para po ma-print yung mga kopya para sa mga estudyante. Right? So ano nga ba yung laman ng CIS, rationale, objectives, at maraming guidance notes. Hopefully po mabasa nyo bago nyo po i-implement ang CIS-OSG. Alright? So konting guidance notes lang. Unang guidance notes, explain po ni Sir Ed, na-mention ko na kanina, pero for emphasis po.
Okay, meron tayong dalawang delivery platform. Una ay yung online conduct of supplemental modules 1 to 4, and you should be able to prepare this beforehand, no? Dapat visuals kasi para mas lalong interactive yung involvement ng mga bata sa mga activities. Second, meron tayong self-guided conduct of supplemental modules 1 to 4. So ito po yung self-guided learning natin na ready na po yan. Kapapaliwanag lang ni Miss Pia, ni Doc Pia, na ready for printing yan at meron po tayong mga resources na pwede natin gamitin kung saan ay madali silang i-print. Okay?
Yes po. Okay. Ma'am Katie, ano ba yung changes in terms of facilitation skills?
Yes, dun sa 2015 SEAS manual, if you can remember, nag-outline kami ng mga skills na kailangan ng mga facilitator upang ma-deliver successfully ang mga modules. So, in-update namin ang list of skills na ito habang kino-consider ang new modes of delivery. So, with the online and self-guided modules, we encourage you to further strengthen your communication skills, your attending skills, and empathic listening skills. So, ito na yun, Miss April. For me to be able to elaborate further, I'm gonna ask Sir Ed and Ma'am Pia later on to help me out, okay, to demonstrate to you what these empathic listening skills are. But first of all, how do you show empathy and how do you show that you're listening empathically? So first of all, of course, give your learners psychological attention. How do you do this? You can use non-distracting body movement. So medyo limited kayo kasi ito lang yung nakikita nila sa inyo, no? Yung screen. So try to use your hands to show emphasis in things that you do. You can lean a little bit forward to show that you're listening. You can look directly into your camera instead of making eye contact kasi it's like you're making eye contact also through your screens. And then you can show that you're listening when they're sharing something by nodding like this. Or saying, okay, oo, or alright, ganyan. Yes, Sir Ed. Correct, Ma'am Pia. Thank you for listening empathically to me. Ayan. So, maliban sa attending skills as a facilitator, you should also listen empathically by clarifying, mirroring, paraphrasing, reflecting, and summarizing. So now, to help you create a better connection with your participants, let's go through some examples. So clarifying is requesting for more information to gain understanding of content. Halimbawa, sinabi ng estudyante, nakakatakot na yung dami ng mga taong nagkakasakit ng coronavirus. Teacher Pia, how will you clarify this?
Okay, so since kailangan ko ng ibang information, batay doon sa sinabi niya, ang pwede kong tanungin is, maaari ko bang malaman kung bakit ka natatakot? Yan. Tama
yes,
ba?
That's correct. Yes, of course. It's just a follow-up question here. So you're trying to clarify what the student is saying, no? Thank you, Miss Pia. Mirroring naman is repeating back the last word or phrase. So halimbawa naman, sinabi ng estudyante, nagpunta po ang nanay ko sa barangay, pero di naman nila masagot kung kailan darating yung relief goods ng pamilya namin. Lagi po nilang sinasabi na maghintay daw po at maglagay ng upuan sa harap ng bahay namin. Teacher Ed, can you help me clarify? Can you help me mirror this?
Okay, bilang teacher, ganito siguro yung sasabihin ninyo sa batang ito. So, pinapaghintay ka at pinapaglagay ka ng silya sa harap ng pintuan ninyo. So, para rasyonan na lang daw. Ganun ba?
Yes, that's correct. It's actually perfect, Sir Ed. No, that's you just have to repeat what the last word or the last phrase is para to show rin na nakikinig po kayo. So, as I can see, somebody is repeating what we are saying, so they are listening on the comments. Yan. So, ang susunod naman po ay paraphrasing. So, it's simply putting what was said into your own words. So it's a little bit similar with mirroring, but you try to put it into your own words, how you understand it. So halimbawa, sinabi ng estudyante, inip na po ako sa loob ng bahay namin. So ang dami nito ngayon, 'di ba? Kasi they're stuck in their own homes. Wala po masyadong magawa, bored na daw siya. Maliit lang po ang bahay namin, wala pang TV. Madami po kami. Maybe Teacher Pia, how will you paraphrase this?
So, pwede kong tanungin, ang sinasabi mo ba ay dahil maliit yung bahay nyo, limitado lang at hindi ka makakilos ayon sa gusto mo? Tone of voice is important, no, Ma'am Katie?
Yes, it's very, very important. So you're trying to repeat what the student is saying and rephrase it, but you're also putting it into a question to verify if you understood it correctly, diba? So thank you, Teacher Pia. Next naman po ay ang reflecting feelings. It is saying back what the person is feeling even if he or she isn't stating it. So, for example, sinabi ng estudyante, humihingi lang naman si nanay ng quarantine pass kasi kailangan niyang bumili ng gamot sa Mercury para sa lolo ko. Yung quarantine pass po kasi nakapangalan sa tatay. Wala naman po si tatay. So maybe Teacher Ed, you can help me reflect the student's feelings in this scenario.
Okay, marahil ang sasabihin ko sa kanya bilang teacher and bilang listener, alam mo iho or alam mo iha, nararamdaman ko na wala kang magawa at nalulungkot ka para sa lolo mo kasi wala kang magawa.
Yes, tamang-tama po, Teacher Ed. Medyo bored siya, so na-reflect yun. Tsaka medyo nalulungkot din siya kasi feeling niya helpless siya. So na-reflect ang helplessness, na-reflect ang boredom, at na-reflect din yung na medyo may konting lungkot, diba? So last one, ang summarizing. So pwede din po tayong gumamit ng summarizing sa pagsisimula o sa pag-review sa gitna at sa pagsara ng inyong module sessions. Teacher Pia, baka pwede mo pong i-demonstrate how you can begin the module session by summarizing.
So, kunwari po, papunta tayo nasa Module 2 na tayo, no? Module 2 is calming down and managing one's emotions. So, kailangan i-recall natin yung Module 1. So, sasabihin ko, nung nakaraang sesyon sa Module 1, natutunan natin na normal lang pala na magkaroon ng negatibong emosyon. Tama ba yun?
Yes, that's very true and very correct. And thank you also for summarizing what we talked about earlier when we introduced Module 1. Teacher Ed, paano naman po ba magagamit ang summarizing sa gitna ng module session?
Yeah, pwede nating sabihin na sa kalagitnaan ng ating sesyon, okay, ayon sa mga sinabi ninyo sa ating pagtalakay, tungkol sa calming down. So we are now in session 2, tungkol sa calming down and controlling one's emotions, ay mga sumusunod. Humihinga kayo ng malalim, deep breathing. Pinipikit nyo inyong mga mata. So nagko-close kayo ng eyes. At nagbibigay kayo ng nagbibilang kayong paatras or pabaliktad, no? 20 to 1, okay? And then you feel relax. So ito yung mga sinasabi ninyong lahat. Okay? There.
Yes, that's correct. That's how you use summarizing midway through your module session. So ang summarizing din ay pwede rin gamitin natin para isara ang module session. So halimbawa sa module 3, yung identifying and addressing needs, you can summarize by saying na sa session na to, in-identify natin ang current needs nyo at ng pamilya nyo. So ngayon, mas aware na kayo sa mga iba't ibang institution, department, at mga center na pwede nating lapitan upang ma-address ang ating mga pangangailangan. So parang ganun, you can summarize or you can look back at the objectives of the module and summarize it from there and what they said in relation to that. So okay, ngayon, pwede naman ba natin bigyan ng karagdagang information tungkol sa PFA parang in supplement to what Sir Ed was presenting earlier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some basic changes or some additional information regarding PFA. So, tandaan po natin to. Ito po yung mahalaga. Sa PFA po, in a nutshell, we should look, listen, and link. To look means to ensure the safety of students and to ensure the safety of the environment and students and environment, kailangan po payapa, panatag silang lahat. Okay, and then we should listen. To listen means to be able to stabilize their emotions kasi naririnig natin yung kanilang nararamdaman, naririnig natin yung expression of feelings na yan. So we need to stabilize their emotions, gather information, and give them tips on how to cope. And then we have to link them to offer practical assistance and link them to social support and services. Okay? And then, tandaan po natin, hindi po CISD o hindi po counseling ang PFA. Maari po kayong magbigay niyan kung kayo po ay trained o sa bandang hulihan na ng inyong talakayan sa bata pagbigay na matapos kayo magbigay ng PFA sa kanya. And then the last one would be it can be delivered online, ulit-ulit po nating sinasabi, or through worksheets. Okay? Now, an additional information for PFA providers, we have to start by clearly introducing ourselves, our name and our role. Hindi po natin i-assume o tatangkaing alamin na ang mga estudyante ay kilala tayo sapagkat magsisimula pa lamang po ang pasukan. So, we maintain also a calm and soft tone of voice with a moderate volume. So, mahalaga po ito. Kung tayo po ay medyo napapalakas ang boses, ngayon po medyo kailangan mag-practice po tayong magsalita ng mahinahon. We don't shout and we don't speak very quickly. We also use supportive phrases to show empathy. Now, unawaan ko kung ano ang inyong sinasabi and acknowledge any losses or difficult feelings that the student shares. Na, alam mo, I am sorry to hear that. Nalulungkot ako na naririnig ko yan galing sa'yo. That sounds like a tough situation. But we don't pressure the student to speak if they don't want to. Hayaan po natin sila na kusang magsalita. Okay? What else? So beyond the traditional classroom, remote SIS facilitators, those who will distribute the self-guided modules, must learn how to look between the lines for signs of stress and anxiety. So the following are the common reactions to stressful events. We have emotional reactions. Ito po yung feeling sad, angry or anger, scared, natatakot sila. Yung pong behavioral reactions naman, meron silang lack of motivation. Yung ayaw pumasok sa eskwela, ayaw mag-aral, or dati naman nagpe-perform siya, achiever siya, ngayon ay low achieving siya. So they avoid doing activities and they become aggressive or violent. And physically, nakakaranas po sila ng sakit ng ulo, ng muscle pain, ng back pain, at nahihirapang matulog, at nawawalan po sila ng appetite sa pagkain. Ito po yung mga physical reactions. So consider natin po na i-refer po sila, mahalaga po ito, i-refer po natin yung mga estudyante na sobrang upset, na hindi nila kayang pangalagaan ang sarili nila at ang ibang tao. Sobra silang anxious, sobra silang matatakutin. Alam niyo po, yung po bang lagi silang parang naluluha, naiiyak. And they talked about wanting to hurt or kill themselves. Okay, lalo po na yan, they turn to social media, they turn to computers, they turn to mobile gaming. So, mas nakakapagpalala po yan ang kanilang nararamdaman. And they do not know who they are. They don't even know their names, where they are from, or what is happening. And they are withdrawn, and they tend to shout or mataas ang boses. Sila po ay laging nagagalit or napipiko, naasar. They threaten to hurt other people. And lastly, they feel disoriented or unreal. Tulad ng sabi kanina ni Miss Katie. Okay?
All right. Thank you, Sir Ed. Thank you, Ma'am Katie. Okay. Niisip ko, siguro bago tayo pumunta dito sa next part, mag-entertain muna tayo ng kahit 2 questions. Sir Mark.
Of course, meron po tayong mga katanungan. Ipa-flash po ang first question sa ating screen. Okay? Just a quick, ayan. Ask ko lang po, paano po kung hindi responsive ang bata? Nasabi niyo kanina na wag piliting magsalita kung ayaw niya. Paano po ang management po sa kanya or management po niya from Maria Stephanie Caday?
Sige, Sir Ed.
Alam mo, Miss Stephanie, well, unang-una gusto ko malaman, kung kilala mo na yung batang ito at dati siyang masalita, okay, dati siyang nagsasalita, very talkative, but this time, nababawasan, hindi na siya nagiging masalita. Let's attempt to discuss the issue, okay? So, nandito lang naman ako para makatulong sa'yo. Gusto kong malaman ano yung nararamdaman mo kasi pag hindi ka sumasagot, hindi ko nalalaman kung ano yung nararamdaman mo. So that can be given as an option, as an offer to her. Pero kung ayaw pa rin niyang magsalita, then keep an eye dyan sa estudyanteng yan. Obserbahan lang siya. And then, obserbahan din siya sa behavior niya pag siya na ay nasa loob ng bahay. You know, I always want to really collaborate with parents kasi mahalaga po na we work hand in hand with parents, with the families ngayong pandemic na ito. So tanungin yung magulang niya, si Stephanie po ba ay mukhang may pinagdadaanan? Kasi po hindi po siya nagsasalita. Maaring may pumipigil sa kanya. Okay? Para ilahad yung kanyang nararamdaman. Okay? So, mahalaga po yun. And then once the parents talked about ano yung kanilang pinagdadaanan, kalooban nila or what, then that's where you can begin to explore.
Okay. I think another question will be flashed sa ating screen. Our second question for this time. Will it be a good idea to translate and deliver this CIS-OSG in our own vernacular, mother tongue based, from Murphy QXS?
Pia, that's yours.
Definitely po, okay? Kaya po namin ginawa in English, okay? Kasi po, kahit paano, no, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, lahat ng Filipinos, mostly, nakakaintindi ng English. Pero pag deliver niyo po, syempre, kanya-kanya ng mother tongue. Again, yung activity, suggestions lang po yan. So again, pwede niyong palitan into something that's more culturally appropriate as well.
I think there you have it for this time. We have two questions. We may now proceed to the discussion ng Pia, Sir Ed, and Miss Katie. Back
Thank
to you po.
Sige, let me just share my screen again. Ayan. Okay, so let's go to some changes now. Okay, from the C's to the CIS-OSG. Dati po, yung C's, meron kayong makikitang say this, do this. Ngayon po wala na yon. Parang mas naka-outline na kung ano yung dapat gawin or sabihin kaagad. Yung word po na disaster sa C's, ngayon po sa CIS-OSG, ginawa naming pandemic. Pero again, no, ikako nga dun sa first talk ko, know your context. Ano pong ibig sabihin nun? Kung taga Mindanao kayo and at this moment, meron kayong na-experience na something else, hindi naman pandemya, yun po ang i-mention nyo. Kunwari naman, nandun kayo sa Luzon or Visayas, tapos may malaki palang ang bagyo, tapos maraming nasalanta or naapektuhan ng bagyo. So, pwede nyo pong gamitin yung word na bagyo. Okay? Ang isa pong update rin, ano, change ng title ng Module 2. Dati po kasi ang title niya, Calming Down and Controlling One's Emotions. Ngayon po, ginawa na namin Calming Down and Managing One's Emotions. Sinamahan pa rin po namin ng Managing Thoughts. Okay? Tapos yun nga, meron na tayong printable version ngayon para sa mga students natin na hindi makakasali sa online. Yan po. So, pakita ko lang to pero hindi ko na i-discuss. Okay. Ito po, pinapakita lang dito na minsan iba po yung activities ng mga makakatanggap ng CIS online doon po sa mga makakatanggap ng printed na self-guided modules. Okay? Ito na po yung part na sinasabi namin na magkaka-quiz tayo. So pakinggan po natin mabuti yung laman ng bawat module kasi po after each module, magko-quiz kayo online po, live. Tapos sasabihin namin kung yung scores nyo 5/5 o 1/5. Okay?
Or zero.
CAR, Region 1, 2, and 3, dapat magaling kayo. Kahapon, maganda ang average. Pakitang gilas po kayo. Module 1, Ma'am Katie.
Yes, thank you, Miss Pia. So ngayon, pag-usapan naman natin ang updated na Module 1, ang Validating Feelings and Normalizing Reactions sa konteksto ng online and self-guided mode of delivery. So I'm going to be talking about the online activities and then the self-guided activity, no, for Module 1. So para sa mga mag-online delivery naman, maganda muna kayo ng small whiteboard or blackboard, bond papers at markers. So handaan nyo rin yung sample graph of emotions and then yung table of common reactions of students to stressful events at ang reference na when terrible things happen. Okay? Para naman sa magsa-self-guided delivery, maghanda ng printout ng mga modules at ipaalala sa mga mag-aaral ninyo na ibalik ang completed module pages at agad na mag-provide ng feedback sa kanila. Kasi syempre, to provide effective feedback, it has to be very timely. So, return it back to them as soon as you can. So, i-refer nyo rin sila kung kailangan, as we've already been mentioning earlier. So, halos pareho pa rin po ang objectives natin sa 2015 Module 1, which are to help our students identify their feelings and reactions related to the pandemic and any form of disaster and help them accept all their feelings and reactions and that it is normal and valid. Okay? You may start the module with a kamustaan or asking them how they are. You can check in by asking them to identify about 3 to 5 feelings or emotions that they've experienced in the past few days, weeks, or months. Months na lang kasi months na tayong nasa pandemic. Okay, so for those doing online delivery, guide them through the activity of graphing their feelings and emotions that they've experienced or are experiencing during this COVID situation. So ask them to rate their emotions based on how much or how often they've been feeling that way over the past few months. So as you can see in the example on your screens, the student is often very worried and very scared during the pandemic. All right, so it's easy to see what they're feeling right now. So for those doing self-guided delivery, the students will be writing a letter. The module pages instruct them to write to a friend about their feelings towards their reactions or routines at home. So an example of a feeling would be they can write, I felt bored or I felt afraid, or others may say, I experienced anxiety. So they may explain why they felt that way or why they reacted that way. But they don't really need to write a very long letter. Hindi siya kailangan na nobela. A very short one expressing what they've been feeling will do, as long as they have a healthy way of expressing it and you can read it and try to address it, then it will do. So to help them interpret their experience, you can ask them, so what did you notice about your reactions to the different situations? Kunyari kanina, the student was very worried and very, what did I say? Was it bored? Anyway, I think it was worried and afraid. And then you can also ask them, are these normal reactions to everything that you've experienced? So this is the time when you practice your active listening, as we discussed earlier. This is the time when you practice your empathic listening and attending skills as they share. You can go deeper with the analysis and abstraction by sharing the reference that you can see on your screen now, when terrible things happen. So it shows the wide variety of positive and negative reactions that students can experience during and immediately after the crisis situation. So we're still experiencing this. Now, you can share that table with your participants by placing it in a PowerPoint like this one, or by printing it out and showing it on screen, or you can use your whiteboard that we asked you to prepare earlier, or your blackboard, and or create a PDF file of this file of this table, and then upload it to the cloud and have them download it through a link. That's possible also, depending on what edtech platform you choose to use if you're doing it online. So to help them test their new learnings and plan for practical applications in their daily life, you may guide them by asking, how can you apply that realization that all feelings and reactions are normal and valid while the pandemic is not yet over? So again, this is the time when you need to practice your active listening, your empathic listening, and attending skills as they share. Okay? I hope you understood that. So that's module 1. I hope that you listen. Nakinig po ba kayo? I'm looking at the comments now and it seems that you're still watching. So I hope that you listen. We will now be taking a short quiz. Please proceed to the link. Where is the link? There, down. The link is right here on your screens. Please proceed to that link and answer the very short quiz to see if you really listen. Okay? I'll give you 2 minutes. Is everyone able to access the quiz? All right, so if you can't access it, you can also proceed to the Facebook page. It will be posted there later on, or I'm not sure if it's there already, but you can answer it after the training session if you really cannot access the link right now. Okay? But try na rin, please. Thank you. Yes, quiz time na po. Thank you for watching still. All right, I can see people answering already. At magagaling po, nakikinig po silang lahat. Kasi we have an average score so far of 4.5 over 5 points. Alright. Meron pa rin pong hindi maka-access. So, kahit later on na lang po kayo mag-try mag-answer, okay? All right, so that's all the time we have for those. As I've said, those who cannot access the link, you can access it later on after the training session, okay? So we will now proceed to Module 2.
Okay. Oh, wait lang ha. Share ko lang muna yung screen ko. Yan. Alrighty. Module 2. Sir Ed, take it away.
Module 2 is entitled Calming Down and Managing One's Emotions and Thoughts. So bilang kaibahan dun sa naunang Cs noong 2015, pinalitan po natin yung salitang controlling one's emotions and thoughts. Kundi ginamitan natin ang salitang managing. It's better to manage one's emotions instead of controlling them. Okay? Next slide please. So kailangan po nating ihanda ang mga sumusunod. Para dun sa magtuturo nito online, kailangan po ay ihanda natin ang maliit na whiteboard and marker, o di naman kaya bond paper and marker. At ihanda rin po natin ang listahan ng 3 suggestions for calming down activities. Para sa self-guided naman, ihanda po natin ang printed, or we need to print out the modules, and we need to remind students to return the completed module pages, and then provide feedback, and then refer if necessary. For the objectives, to be able to identify positive ways to manage one's emotions, to practice calming down using a relaxation exercise, and be able to practice reframing one's thoughts. Yung activity po natin sa online, ihanda po natin ang mga estudyante para maalala nila kung ano yung nilista nila doon sa Module 1. Tanungin natin, ano ba yung inyong nilista na mga naramdaman ninyo? Okay. At ano yung inyong ginawa doon sa mga feelings na yon, doon sa mga naramdaman ninyo to make you feel better? At pwede natin din silang tanungin, ano ba yung usually na ginagawa ninyo to help manage or get rid of that feeling? So si teacher, pwede siyang magtanong ng mga 5 to 6 students, no, for this purpose. Okay? And then, sasabihin ni teacher, so ang actions na ito help you make feel better and they help us address our stress. And then, isi-separate po natin, isusulat natin, no, dun sa whiteboard or sa kahit saang board o kaya sa bond paper, yung pong sa kabilang side, hatiin natin yung papel or whiteboard into healthy, sulat natin healthy, and then unhealthy ways of dealing with the stress. So we ask them, which one would be considered as healthy ways of coping? Sa palagay nyo, ano yung mga lilitaw na mga kasagutan ng ating mga mag-aaral? So siguro sasabihin nila yung healthy ways of coping is, ano po ba yung mga healthy ways of coping nila? They talk about their feelings. Okay? They breathe deeply. They do some exercise. They eat healthy food. Or they connect with some friends, di ba? Pagkatapos dun sa unhealthy ways, alam niyo po, pwede po nating i-discuss itong unhealthy ways na ito, katulad po ng, alam niyo, may mga kabataan ngayon, no, na maaaring nalululong na sila sa paninigarilyo, pag-inom ng alcohol or ng alak, and isolation or constant worrying. We can also write these down doon sa kabilang bahagi ng ating bond paper or ng ating whiteboard. Yung paraan po natin ng pagsasabi, okay, yung tono po ng ating pananalita ay maaari pong magpakita ng concern sa mga kabataan nang sa ganun ay mas iwasan nila. Sa halip po na sila ay ating papagalitan or sisigawan kaya or nako, tigilan nyo na yung inyong pag-iinom or paninigarilyo kasi that's very unhealthy. Madali kayong mauwi sa hukay or whatever, no? So, it's all right to talk about these things, but the manner by which we say them, they're very important. Okay, next slide. So these are some of the calming down activities. We teach them the skill of counting backwards. Let's say 20 to 1, magbilang ka ng 20 or 10 hanggang 1. So 10, 9, 8 to 1. And then you ground, yung grounding activity. Yun po bang hinga ng malalim. Okay, tapos ipikit mo yung mata. Turuan natin yung bata ng ganon. Tapos, buksan mo lang yung mga mata after some time and then tumingin ka sa, can you identify 5 or 3 objects around you? So, sasabihin nila, nakikita ko po yung electric fan, nakikita ko po yung TV set, nakikita ko po yung kapatid ko, and so on and so forth. And then we say, okay nga, mag-focus ka, you be mindful of these things that you see around you. And then finally, you teach them how to refrain their thoughts, no? So baguhin po nila yung kanilang pag-iisip Okay? Nang sa ganon ay maging neutral, no? Maging mas maayos at maging positibo yung nilalaman ng kanilang pag-iisip. Kasi kung overthinkers po sila, puro po negative yung kanilang naiisip. So they need to reframe their thoughts. Okay? And then afterwards, next slide. Afterwards, they the 3 C's of feelings and diaphragmatic breathing exercise. Pwede natin silang turuan ng tawag nito. First, they catch their feeling. Okay. Aalamin nila kung ano yung nararamdaman nila. Okay, based on the thoughts na pumapasok sa isip nila, so kailangan lang po silang magkaroon ng kamalayan. Okay, na ito yung nasa sa isip nila. Naiisip ko to. And then they check their feelings. Ito bang feeling ko na to ay useful? Ito bang feeling ko na to ay applicable pa ngayon? Okay? Kung hindi na to applicable, they move on to the next C, which is to change their feelings. Okay? So papalitan nila yung feeling na yan. Kasi hindi sila sigurado kung totoo na nawala nga or may when I say nawala, maaaring may nabawian ng buhay or maaaring may kung anumang grabing mga pangyayari ang nasa sa isip nila. And so you have here, nandito po yung, they have to fill this one, they fill out the table about feelings, their feelings before and after the activity. So isusulat po nila dito sa gawing kaliwa, ano yung kanilang mga damdamin bago magsimula ang activity at yung kanilang naramdaman or damdamin pagkatapos ng activity na ito. So they have to write them down very clearly. Okay? And then, pagkatapos po nito ay ano susunod? So, analysis and abstraction. Darating tayo sa analysis and abstraction. Ang tanong sa analysis and abstraction ay, what are you feeling now? What do you think was the point of this activity? Ano yung rason? Ano yung dahilan bakit natin ito ginawa? Alam niyo, marami pong lilitaw na sagot ang yung mga estudyante. Okay? And can you compare how you feel right now with how you felt before we started with the relaxation activity? And in a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest, rate your level of stress. We tell them before and after we started with the exercise. At mapapansin po natin, ma-appreciate natin, meron pong malaking pagbabago ang mga kabataan. Magkaroon lang ng ganitong opportunity to talk about their feelings, validate their feelings, and manage their thoughts and emotions. Okay? And then in the end, pwede pong sabihin ng sabay-sabay ng mga bata, I can calm myself down and manage my own thoughts and feelings. Or kung sila po ay online, they can, para magiging self-mantra nila to. Para magiging self-fulfilling prophecy ito. Yung para bang very positive yung kanilang sasabihin para sa kanilang sarili. I can calm myself down and manage my own thoughts and feelings. Okay? So we ask them, how can you apply your newfound knowledge to your daily life? And then, finally, they will think of a short phrase that you can share with the class, okay, or with somebody to show their appreciation about being with them during online classes. What would be a good phrase or word? Okay, halimbawa, a good phrase or word ay, ako'y natutuwa, or ikaw pala ay marunong makinig, ikaw para ay marunong tumanggap, ako'y natutuwa dahil ako'y yung tinanggap, ako'y natutuwa dahil naintindihan mo ako, yung aking takot, yung aking pangamba, yung aking anxiety. So yung mga ganong bagay po. So can we all say this to each other now as we leave our online class? And then provide them with that opportunity to say these things to one another. Okay? Ngayon po, magkakaroon po ulit tayo ng quiz. Hello? Magkakaroon po ulit tayo ng quiz. Quiz time po tayo ulit. Okay. Ito po yung ating link. Sagutan po ng mabilis at matalino. Okay, sumasagot po ba? Tingnan po natin kung ano po yung nakikita natin sa mga comments. Done with quiz 1. Okay, perfect score. Wow. Okay. Okay, can we have music, please? Mark? Well, give them enough time to answer. Siguro 2 minutes more. Okay. Okay, Mark, pwede na siguro ipasok. Wow, okay. I think my message si Mark, kailangan yata magsalita na ngayon. Um, somebody's going to speak from DepEd. May magsasalita yata, Katie, tama ba?
No, I just want to share the results so far of
Okay.
the Module 2 quiz. We have an average score of 4.47 over 5 points. So it seems that nagigets naman po ang dinidiscuss natin, especially now in Module 2. So
Yes,
maybe as they're still answering, some people, I can see some people still answering. Maybe we can now proceed to Module 3 and the others can access the quiz later on after the online training.
All right. Let's go to Module 3. Module 3 po is on identifying and addressing needs. Okay? Linking po tayo. Yan po ang short name ng Module 3, linking. So, kung kayo po ay magde-deliver ng module na ito online, ang kailangan nyo pong mga materyales ay yung listahan ng emergency contact numbers and information. Makikita nyo po yan dito. Pero pag nakita nyo po yan dito, blank page po yan. Kailangan nyo pong fill upan yung information, no? Pangalan ng barangay officer nyo, sa barangay health officer, kung meron kayong COVID testing center, ano po yung phone number, okay? Ano po yung number ng principal, kung sa tingin nyo makakatulong na alam nila kung ano yung office number ng principal or ng division superintendent, pwede nyo po ilista doon, okay? Papakitaan ko po kayo ng sample mamaya. Tapos po, kailangan nyo rin ng list of common needs of survivors after a disaster. Meron po rin tayong kopya niyan dito po sa manual na marireceive nyo. Tsaka po, list of common needs during a pandemic and how to access them. Tapos po, may makikita rin kayong needs form. Kung i-conduct nyo po to online, kokopyahin nyo po yung needs form na yon sa isang papel, tapos ifa-flash nyo po sa screen or papakita nyo sa screen. Para naman po sa self-guided, print out lang po ng mga modules. Meron po ako nakitang question kanina no sa Facebook Live. Tinatanong po, do we use our own money in printing the modules? Hindi po. Meron po kayong funds na pwedeng magamit. Tanungin nyo na lang po sa inyong division superintendent. Okay? Objectives po ng Module 3. Identify one's current needs and those of one's family. So kapareho pa rin po ng objectives ng C's. Become aware of the various institutions, departments, and centers present within the school environment or immediate community. And to take note po of the important numbers and information regarding who to approach for their needs. So, ito po yung una nyong papakita na sheet. Kailangan po naka-fill out. Okay, so sasabihin niyo, ito yung mga list of emergency contact numbers. Okay, pag pinakita niyo yan, sasabihin niyo sa mga bata online. Okay, ngayon po lahat kayo, screenshot niyo to para may kopya na kayo ng emergency phone numbers and pati po yung mga address pwedeng isulat dyan. Okay, Tanungin nyo rin yung mga bata, ano pa bang kailangan natin idagdag dito? Pag may sinabi sila, ma'am, kailangan dagdagan natin ng ganitong number o ganitong tao. Sige po, idagdag nyo sa baba, kahit po pentel pen lang, tapos pakunan nyo ulit ng screenshot o ng picture. Okay? Yung pinapakita nyong page para po may kopya na sila sa kanilang phone, nakasave na po sa phone nila. Okay? Next na papakita nyo po ay itong list of common needs of survivors after a pandemic or disaster. Tapos, pwede nyo rin itong basahin sa kanila. Okay, so kunwari, ito po yung list nyo of common needs of survivors. Papakita nyo ganyan, pwede nyo basahin. Tapos tatanungin nyo po sila, ano ba yung ibang needs na hindi pa nakalista dito? Dagdagan natin. Okay? I'm sure meron pang mga suggestions yung mga, yung mga estudyante natin. Tapos papakita nyo rin tong isang listahan, list of common needs during a pandemic at how to access them. Sorry po, hindi ko mapakita yung buong page. Malaki po kasi, madaming nakasulat, pero sabi ko, lalakihan ko na lang to para mas mabasa nyo naman yung kahit a little bit lang of the page. So, kunwari po ito, no? Selling of products and goods. Kung kunwari, yung pamilya ng estudyante gustong magbenta, okay? So, saan sila dapat pumunta? Pumunta sa barangay center para po ma-issuehan sila ng permit. Kung kunwari naman gusto nyong gamitin yung isang sasakyan or kailangan nyo manghiram ng sasakyan, pupunta rin kayo sa barangay para po kumuha ng quarantine pass. Yung mga ganon, ano, ang dapat nakalista dyan sa common needs during a pandemic and how to access them. Tapos po, ito yung sinasabi ko, ito na po yung activity, whether po online or self-guided. Meron pong form na ipapakita. Kung online po, ipapakita nyo ganyan yung form. Pwede nyo pong kopyahin tong form na to. Okay? Column 1, family, relative, and friend. Column 2, current, immediate need. And column 3, refer to. Fill upan po yan ng mga bata. Okay? Isa-isa po silang may ganyang form. Gagawin nila yan sa kanilang mga notebook. Okay? Tapos isusulat nila, sino ba yung friend ko o family member ko na may pangangailangan, ano yung pangangailangan niya, at kanino ko siya pwedeng i-refer. Pangalan ng kaibigan, ano yung need ng kaibigan na yun. Yung seryosong needs, ha? Hindi po yung needs na magkaroon ng girlfriend at boyfriend. Okay? Mahirap na po yan. Hindi natin alam kung kanino natin i-refer yung mga ganyang needs. Okay? Yung totoong needs dapat ang pinag-uusapan dito. Right? Yan. Tapos, pagdating po sa analysis and abstraction, okay, para po sa online, pwede nyong pag-usapan, no? Magtatawag kayo ng mga students para mag-share ng kanilang mga needs and linkages. Para naman po sa self-guided, ang mangyayari po is isasauli po sa inyo ng bata yung mga answered na modules, tapos po babasahin nyo yun. Tapos po pag nakita nyo na medyo importante po or mahalaga yung need tapos wala pang nakaka-address, pwede nyo po siyang i-link, okay? Or pwede nyo kausapin yung bata para po malaman niya kung saan siya pwede lumapit, anong ahensya ng gobyerno or sinong kaibigan or kapamilya ang pwede niyang lapitan. Okay? Acknowledge po natin sila for having good support systems. Okay? This one. And knowing who to link to. And then, pwede nyo pong pag-usapan din sa online yung mga stories ng mga barangay officers, barangay captain na nagbibigay ng good service. Ngayon, kung lumitaw po sa discussion na gusto rin nila pag-usapan ang mga tao, kung may mga tao na masama po yung serbisyo, sige po, payagan nyo lang po silang i-express yun. Importante rin kasi yun. Okay? So sa closing po, ang pinaka-importanting mensahe na namakuha ng mga estudyante ay ito, I can help others with their needs and then I know who to approach for my own needs. Okay? So after that, syempre, come up with a chant or a cheer activity na pwedeng banggitin ng buong klase. Alright? Gets po ba? Pareho lang ng sis. Ginawa lang natin online or self-guided. Alright? So, at this point, quiz ulit tayo. Okay, Module 3 quiz naman. Ayan, nakikita ko yung link nasa baba. Okay, yan. Alright, so click nyo po yung link. Kung hindi nyo naman maklik yung link, pagkatapos po ng lahat ng talks today, balikan nyo po yung Facebook page na yan. Mamayang hapon po, ilalagay po ng mga taga-DRRMS lahat po ng link ng pre-test, post-test, at lahat ng 4 quizzes pwede nyo pong sagutan bago kayo matulog or habang nagpapahinga po kayo ngayong hapon. Okay? Salamat po! Alright. Okay. So far, siguro 3 quiz na yung na-answer nyo or 2. Ma'am Katie, meron ba tayong average results so far?
Yes, so far, Module 3, we have an average score of 4.75. So this is the
Taas.
highest average score for this session today, ang Module 3.
Nice.
Yeah,
Ganda.
overall, I think about mga 4.6 ang average score ng ating participants today so far. So, I think it's good because nagigets nila ang ating tinatalakay.
Yay!
Yes.
So far, parang pareho nung average nung yesterday, no?
Yes, halos
Yay!
pareho rin.
Nako, thank you po for listening.
I'm not sure if mataas yung score nila dahil may ibang nagsishare ng answers sa comment section.
Teka, teachers to, di ba? Hindi naman to student. Teachers to.
Hindi, napaka-generous po nila sa
Oo,
isa't
pero
isa.
tiwala lang na walang nagkokopyahan. Tiwala.
Yeah.
Alright, punta na tayo sa Module 4. Alright.
Module 4.
Yes, sandali lang po. Technical difficulty lang. Pasensya na. Umaga na po dito sa Czech Republic.
This is going to be
May
the
araw
last
na sa likod mo.
Ha? May araw na sa likod ko. Okay.
This is the last module, but not the least. Okay?
Yes. Ayan na. Take it away, Sir Ed.
Ang module 4 po natin ay Sources of Strength Untitled, no? And then, kailangan pong ihanda natin ang sa mga sumusunod, no? Isa lang yung ating activity para sa online at para sa self-guided. For the online, kailangan pong ihanda natin ang isang drawing ng saranggola, ng kite, o drawing ng binta, ng windmill, or a tree. And then students will be needing blank sheets of paper and coloring material. So, kung meron po silang mga lumang Crayola, kahit gamit na, pwede na lang gamitin. For self-guided, i-print out lang po yung modules, And then i-remind natin yung mga bata na ibalik yung mga completed module pages. And then we will give feedback and then refer them if necessary. Okay? Now po, yung objectives natin. At the end of this online and self-guided module, they will be able to identify their personal, social, and emotional sources of strengths during and in the aftermath of the disaster or stressful situation, and then identify their internal and external sources of strength. Okay. Ngayon po, ang activity po natin pareho po sa online and self-guided. So, nag-drawing tayo ng saranggola, nandirito po sa larawan, sa gawing kanan, merong 4 na bahagi, tapos ilalagay nila dyan sa 4 na bahagi na yan, yung kanilang strengths, no? And then, merong linya, no? Merong pong line, na kung saan hahawakan, and then palilipa rin po yan, no? Ngayon pong tag-ulan, medyo rainy season tayo, hindi po lilipad ang saranggola. Pero may pagkakataon ngayong mga panahon na ito na malakas yung simoy ng hangin. So, at mainit, no? So, nag-alternate po yung ating weather. So, pwede silang magpalipad ng saranggola. So, just like a kite, okay, you have resources within you. Or you have resources around you to help you get up once more. Bakit po within you or around you? Yung within you po, yung kanilang kalakasan na nanggagaling sa loob. Okay? Kalakasan na naggagaling sa kanilang kalooban. Or around you, yung sa paligid nila. Sino po yung mga tumutulong sa kanila? Sino po yung nagbibigay sa kanila ng lakas pag sila nanghihina? Sino po yung encouragers nila? Okay? Yung mga ganong mga bagay. So yung mga diamond, itong 4 na bahagi, ito yung sources of strengths nila. Okay. And then outside the kite, who or what serves as the wind for you? So sino yung nagsisilbing hangin para sa'yo? Okay. Or who or what keeps you strong? Bakit patuloy kang bumabangon? Sabi nga nung commercial, no? Para sa kanino? Para ano ang dahilan, anong purpose ng araw-araw na pagsusumikap and everything. Okay? Okay, and then we move to the next slide. Okay, pagkatapos nito, meron pong sharing of answers. Okay, babahagi nila yan. Maari nilang sa loob ng bahay, pagka po self-guided sila, or pagka online sila sa loob nasa loob sila ng bahay, pwede nilang ibahagi sa kanilang sibling or sa kanilang parents, o kung may kaklase silang kapitbahay lang nila, no? Pwede naman siguro, okay, lumapit or pumunta sa kapitbahay, they share their answers. Okay, and then they write down their thoughts and realizations for both online and self-guided. Okay? And then, ito po yung binta. Okay, ito yung binta, ito yung boat, no? Ito yung parang bangka. At dito rin sila nagpapalaot, lumulutang sa dagat, sa karagatan, ang bangkang ito, ang binta na ito. Available po ito sa Mindanao, sa Zamboanga, at sa ibang mga lugar na may dagat. Okay? Tatanungin natin sila, what have you realized about each other after that sharing? So ano po yung, baka meron silang bagong discovery sa sarili nila. Okay? Na dati pala sila ay iiyak agad or pag sila po ay natatakot, may pangamba, ganito yung ginagawa nila. Ngayon, baka medyo nagbago na sila o nabawasan na. What have you realized about yourself? And do we have common sources of strength? Do you have common sources of strength? No? Maaring ang nanay pala ang kanilang sources of strength yung ibang tao. O kanilang ama. No? O ang kanilang kaibigan sapagkat mas nakakausap nila yung kanilang kaibigan. No? So how are you similar to the kite? We ask them. Can you think of other objects that can be a symbol for your many sources of strength? Okay? Yan po yung ating analysis and abstraction. For our application and closing, the main message na mahalaga pong sabihin ng mga bata ay ito. I am strong, I can count on others to keep me strong. So that every time when I feel weak, we focus or we remind ourselves that we have a number of sources of strength. Okay. And then, gagawa po sila ng tula na tulad ng isang saranggola. Ganito po ang tulang ito. Ang saranggola ko at ako, parehong-pareho. Ako ay matatag, siya rin ay matatag. ako ay di babagsak, siya din ay di babagsak. Tangahin man ang hangin, hinding-hindi matitinan. Ito ba? Very strong. So we ask again our students, pagkatapos nilang sumulat ng tula, would any of you want to volunteer? Okay? To recite the poem or tapos na po tayo sa writing, no? Or maaring hindi po tula ang kanilang ginawa, kundi maaring pasulatin niyo sila ng parang rap, no? Ng parang isang kanta. Siguro mga one paragraph lang naman, okay? That you have learned about your sources of strength, your strengths, and those who help or support you. Okay? So, ganun po. At in the end, ang atin pong application and closing, yun, mahalaga po yung mensahe na to na dapat nating iwanan sa kanila. I am strong. I can count on others to keep me strong. Okay. So, dyan po nagtatapos ang Module 4, ang buong Cs, online at SG. Okay, ngayon po ay magte-test po tayo. Meron po tayong pagsusulit pagkatapos po ninyong makinig. Okay? Okay, tignan po natin ulit yung link. Ito po yung link. Okay, now music please while they're answering. So there. Okay. Right, very good. Na-upload na nila yung link and then answering. Okay.
Ang ating katawan, resistensya natin ay dapat palakasin. Sama-sama, tulong-tulong, nating labanan ng COVID-19. Kaya natin to, wag lang matakot. Kung sama-sama ay walang problema. Palagi ang maghugas ng mga kamay gamit ang sabon at malinis na tubig. Sama-sama, tulong-tulong, nating labanan ng COVID-19. Kaya natin to, wag lang matakot. Kung sama-sama ay walang problema.
Okay, so nasagutan na po natin. Okay. Alam niyo po, maganda po yung ginawa natin ngayong umagang ito, no? Itong ating training session na to. Nagbukas ng, ang opening po natin from DepEd, meron po ako napansin doon sa tumatakbong bata, meron siyang saranggola. Okay, pagkatapos habang lumilipad yung saranggola, unti-unting umaakyat yung bata kasabay ng saranggola. At magwawakas po tayo sa session natin ngayon, mag-alas 12 na po, alas 12 na, ng session about saranggola. Okay? Katandaan po natin.
Nakakatuwa, no? Hindi natin sinadya yun.
Hello.
Yes, Sir Mark.
Hala, ayan na naman.
Sige, okay lang yan.
We'll
Antayin
now
natin.
proceed to some questions. Okay?
Okay.
Some questions will be flashed in the screen. Ayan. Let's just wait for the question to be flashed on the screen. Yes.
Miss Pia?
Ay, sorry. When giving PFA to students, is it advisable to relate
Let's
your
just wait for
own
the questions to be
experience
flashed on the screen right now. Ayan.
with their experience?
From Kyle Basway. Wow.
Alright. Hindi ka namin marinig, Sir Mark. Okay? So, basahin ko na lang ulit.
Ayan. When giving PFA to... Yes. When giving PFA to students, is it advisable to relate your experience with their experience? Say, for example, tell them that you have experienced such from Kyle Busway. Ayan.
Alright. This is my answer to that, no? Sure, you can, but remember that your focus is the student. Problema po kasi madalas, pag nirelate na natin sa experience natin, it becomes about us. Biglang ikaw na yung nagkukwento. Nakalimutan mo na yung estudyanteng nag-share. Nakalimutan mo na umiiyak siya. Ikaw na yung umiiyak. Okay? So, pwede naman masabihin na relate ako sa'yo kasi naramdaman ko rin yan. Okay? Pero hanggang dun lang. After that, balik kayo dun sa experience nung bata para nakafocus tayo sa kanya. Okay?
Okay. Okay, what should be the approach to students who just witnessed hostage taking inside the classroom? From Ms. Aggie Viray.
Sir Ed.
Oh, wow. Ang bigat nito, no? Ang bigat nito.
Mm-mm.
What should be the approach to students who just witnessed hostage taking inside the classroom? So I presume nangyari ito, itong insidente na to, hindi pa natin ginagawa itong online itong ating SIS, no? Nangyari ito before. Okay. So i-contextualize po natin. Nangyari yung hostage taking inside the classroom. Ang ginagawa po namin dyan, pagkatapos po ng hostage taking, okay, mga ilang araw ang nakalipas, okay, kailangan po pakalmahin muna natin yung mga bata, and then mga after 3 days, magkakaroon po sila ng tinatawag nating psychosocial support. I suppose nangyari ito sa classroom, nakita nila, nasaksihan nila, may hostage taking, nagkagulo. So kailangan kong i-process yung experience na yun ng mga bata, kailangan palabasin kung ano yung kanilang feelings, okay, doon sa pangyayari, at kailangan wag po natin gawing sensational. Kailangan po tahimik lang, kailangan simple lang. Kailangan pong gawing itong bahaging ito, kailangan isagawa ng either guidance counselor o ng school psychologist. Sila lamang po ang maaring gumawa nito. Kung wala, kailangan po magkaroon po ng paghahanda. So dapat po prepared ang mga bata kung paano sila mabibigyan ng assistance dito sa hostage taking experience. Definitely they were shocked. Natatakot sila and everything at lagi yung pumapasok sa isip nila. Dapat may pag-unawa tungkol sa dynamics ng trauma kasi maaaring na-traumatize yung mga bata. So mahalaga po yun. Okay?
Kung printed modules naman ang learning modality at no face-to-face. Thank you po from Sir Alberto Sernaldilla Hapson.
All right. Ma'am Katie, you want to answer this?
Oh yeah, that's why in your modules, in the CIS manual that you will be downloading or that will be sent to you, the new one, there's a different, yung pinapakita ni Ma'am Pia. There are 2 ways that you can implement or you can run the modules. You can run it online and you can run it using the printed version. So, yung self-guided na tinatawag natin ngayon. So, there's no face-to-face needed with the self-guided modules. You just need to send the module pages to them and then they will return it to you. Pwede nilang ipadala, pwede nilang, I don't know if there's Grab. Pwede nilang i-drop, pwede kayo magkaroon ng drop box sa labas ng school, pwede rin ganun. Or pwede nila ipadala through their parents, yung module pages. So, there's a lot of possibilities. You can use a lot of flexibility in using these printed modules.
Dagdag ko lang na pagtanggap nyo po, ulitin ko lang yung sinabi ni Ma'am Katie during the training, pagkatanggap nyo po ulit ng mga answered na modules, no? Kailangan nyo pong tignan yun, look at their answers for signs po of stress and anxiety. Opo, tapos lagyan nyo po ng feedback yon. Pag feeling nyo naman na sobra po ang level ng stress or anxiety, pwede nyo pong i-refer. Pero paalala lang nga po ni Sir Ed, kung gusto nyo silang i-refer sa isang psychologist or psychiatrist, kailangan nyo po munang sabihin sa parents. Ngayon, kung sa guidance counselor naman ng school nyo i-refer, okay po yun. Tapos si guidance counselor na lang ang magsasabi kung kailangan ng further referral. Thank you po.
Yes, if I may add also, it's very important that you read between the lines of what they're trying to say. So you can look at what they're saying or writing and what's not being said as well. So there's no right or wrong answers in what they're gonna submit to you. But what's important is that they have an outlet, a healthy outlet to express what they're feeling and to express their emotions during this current situation. Yeah, next question. Ayan na pala. Ang next question ay, what if the child resorts to addictive coping mechanisms like online games? From Miss Maan del Pilar.
Okay.
This seems to be a very popular question.
Yeah.
Okay. Alam niyo, marami ako nakakausap na pamilya ngayon. Isang opportunity daw itong pag-lockdown, okay, for the whole family to be together sa loob ng bahay. So wala silang magawa kundi they are together. Meron po siyang advantage kasi it becomes they have more time for bonding. Especially po kung marunong po yung magulang na i-structure kung ano yung mga activities ng mga bata, ng mga anak nila. Nang sa ganun ay abala po sila and very productive yung paggamit nila ng oras. At the same time, kung hindi po structured yung kanilang paggamit ng oras, okay, kung kanya-kanya silang banat, no? Kanya-kanya silang gagawin, di ba? So, ang iba nagko-computer, ang iba gumagawa ng ganito, nag-gaming, and etc. Alam niyo po, unang-una, hindi naman po bawal ang mag-gaming. Pero nakalagay dito, addictive coping mechanisms. Okay, addictive na siya. Okay, wala na tayong magawa. Ako, una, because he is addictive, refer him to the professional. Pero kung hindi pa naman talaga ganon, kung may magagawa pa tayong paraan, kung hindi siya addictive, pwede pong, hindi po maaring itago ninyo or agawin ninyo or biglang, parang wala siyang magamit na facilities or any gadget, di ba? So, ang gawin na lang ninyo po ay dahan-dahan po yan at kailangan kausapin po ito pong anak natin na ito. Kasi po talaga pong pag-addictive talaga yan, violent reaction po yan. Violent reaction talagang umaatikabo. It's a big problem, I know. So you just have to refer that person through, okay, sagutin ko na po kung baka may magtatanong, kung libre po ang pag-avail ng psychologist through the PAP. Okay? And meron din pong libreng guidance counselors through the Philippine Guidance and Counseling Association. I think your referral system will be worked out by the DepEd. Okay? Serious case po ito. Thank you, Maan.
Thank you very much, Sir Ed. Ayan. I think meron pa tayong last question. Paano po kung nakikita mo na yung mga signs na need na ng bata ang counseling, pero denial ang mga parents or walang acceptance that their child really needs that? From Joab.
Miss Pia? As a parent?
Yeah. Ako, simple answer, no? If may denial ang parent, then you don't have any permission to refer the child. So, if you can convince the parent a little more, then yun po yung mainam. Pero kung talagang hindi nyo siya mako-convince, at least po in your mind, you know that you tried to help the child, no? The other thing that you can do is to focus on the child. Kayo po yung makipag-usap sa bata or i-refer nyo sa guidance counselor para po yung guidance counselor ang pwedeng tumutok doon sa batang yon in the hopes na kahit paano mabago ng konti or ma-modify ng konti yung behavior niya. Okay?
There. Thank you very much, Dr. Pia. Again, for this morning, salamat po ulit Sir Ed, Miss Katie, and Dr. Pia Ramos. Ayan. Dear viewers, makikita nyo din po sa screen later on ang ating link para sa ating post-test. Okay? Nakikita nyo po siya ngayon. I-access lang po natin ang link na to para sa pagsagot po sa post-test. Okay? It will also be posted later sa the respective Facebook group po natin na assign po kayo. Thank you very much again po sa ating tatlong resource persons. This time, let us listen to the closing message of our Director of the Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Service, Director Ronilda Co. Director Ronnie?
Hello, Maki. Naririnig ba ako?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay. Sorry because I got disconnected actually. But maraming salamat po sa ating mga teachers na dumalo ngayon sa ating training na ito. I realize this is Regions 1, 2, and CAR, right? Tama ba ako? Sa kabsat, ibag nga aldaw, yu amin, no? Kalugaran dakngay. So nga, agyaman ako, no? Agyaman kami amin, kada kayo. Dito nga panag-participate yo. Dito nga training tayo. Sapay ko mata makatulong dito kada kayo amin, no? Nga may tejumet katay mental health ken social psychosocial support kada kitoy ubing tayo ti the kita regions nga nagapuan nyo. So with this, tanong nyo kanina, di ba? May printed ba yung mga ibibigay ba? Ano sa inyo ba sasagutin? Please coordinate with your division DRRM coordinators. No? I hope that yung mga school DRRM coordinators nyo ay nakakausap nyo rin. At saka yung mga division DRRM coordinators. Kasi meron po tayong mga ilang pondo na nai-download na. At yung iba nga na na-download na dati na ibang purpose na nag-realign tayo para po sa pagtulong dito sa iba't ibang support no needed for the response for COVID-19. Kaya kasama po itong MHPSS doon. So there are funds that sana magkasya no, yung mga pondo na naibigay para po sa pag-print ng mga materials and even other IEC materials actually that you can do in other activities. Medyo ginawa namin ng flexibility para po sa pag-conduct ninyo ng mental health and psychosocial support. No? So, and we will be having every ano din po, no, tatandaan ninyo every week meron since April pa, no, meron tayong for learners na ginagawa. Every Tuesday ay 4 p.m. ay para sa mga elementary learners, online storytelling. Every Thursday naman po, today, no, 4 p.m. Ulit, tomorrow, 4 p.m. Ulit, no. We have naman for secondary learners, no, for 4 p.m. And sabi ko nga kanina, every Friday, meron tayo for personnel. Pwede po kayong sumama doon, naka-FB Live din siya. We call it the Wellness Check Series. And we will also have we launched already last week pala, yung for parents po. So this afternoon, 4 p.m. for parents naman po. No? So hinahanda namin lahat no, ng mga kasama natin sa education sector. By that, I don't mean us alone na nasa DepEd, but even the parents and the learners themselves. So sana nakatulong po ito sa inyong lahat. Kayang-kaya natin ito, though it's not without a struggle. We all are at that moment of struggling, but it is also a moment, no, an opportunity for us to strengthen, no, ourselves individually and even as communities, no, as DepEd na magkakasama, because we always say, no, education does not happen isa lang or no, or isang sangay or isang levels of governance lang yung yung gumagawa, no. It is actually yung tayong lahat dito nakita talaga natin yon, no, at dito tumingkad yung pangangailangan na dapat tulong-tulong tayo sama-sama. Kaya sabi nga, no, basta sama-sama kayang-kaya, pag sama-sama po kayang-kaya basta't sama-sama. So a pleasant morning to all of you colleagues, Maestra, Gagayem, DepEd, no, whatever support, please count us in. We are actually, have been doing several initiatives to support your initiatives also on the ground at lahat ng kailangan natin na paghahanda para sa ating mga estudyante. Tayong pangal daw yung aming kabsat, aganan na kayo, ni Apo Diyos ti kumuyog kada kayo. Thank you.
Chef, ikaw tinry ko.
Ay, ganito.
What move? Primary objective is to kill them all.
Nag-drop dun, no?
What move?
Saan tayo, Master? Master?
Kunin natin yan.
Captain Jerk Steve?
Oo.
Paano pa tayo po?
Wala na. Hindi ka nakasali ni Steve. Kunin niya. Sige. Objectives updated. Move to the next location.
Naman tayo dito. Oh, ito, baril ni Hudos, oh.
LMG here.
Oh, boss, oh, armor, boss, oh, armor, boss, oh, armor, oh. Oh, dahil ko dito armor, oh. Para sa'yo yan, ha. Para i-boost yan, para i-boost yan.
Sige, go, chef. Dati naman kasi siya mag-lead
Sige, ako ma. Dapat lang. Di ko naranasan maging leader sa...
Contract updated. New objective identified.
Mga ganun-ganun
Hindi, walang tiwala yung mga
Hi,
classmates.
Rearm and resupply.
Gano'n ka sure na wala nag-trap dito,
Mga klase ko, walang tiwala.
Chef, ano rin gusto mo tawag sa'yo?
Baby. Baby. Ganun ba? Oh, may kalaban dito, ha. May kalaban dito.
Kalaban to.
Dahan-dahan lang.
Oh, pera, oh. Load out na. Dito tayo mag-load out.
Nasa kami
Gas here.
Putang ina, malitid ako na. May tao sana sa bahay, Sen. Sa likod ko lang. Sa likod ko lang.
Teammate has entered the gulag. Surviving earns them redeployment. Your teammate has entered the gulag. Surviving earns them redeployment. Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the sky.
Ayawa! Ang dami naman!
Sabi ko kasi mag-load out na tayo, eh.
Visit!
The gulag. Survive and you can redeploy.
Hindi, Gat, ano ba sasabi mo? Sa mga niya.
Sabi kasi, pumunta na sa akin. Doon pa talaga ba kayo nagpunta?
Sorry.
There's a fight kicking off. Get ready to fight. You're next.
Anggi.
Sayang naman yun.
Advised, your teammate got their ass kicked. They're RTB at this time. Win here and you return to the front line. You lose your fight, soldier.
Panalo mo, Besi, ha? Turuan kita, Besi. Turuan kita.
You're up, soldier. Now go sort this fucker out.
Nasa left. Pa rin, left. Then the wall. Mid.
Sapakin mo! Reload ko. Ari yung pinindot
Your
ko.
team has the cash. They can pay for your release.
Sayang isang ina lang yung beses. Tinamahan nyo na siya. Nasa right.